the unknown, down the rabbit hole, where it stops no one knows. We're going headed into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Well, hello, everybody. Happy Sunday night, and thank you guys for being here and joining us tonight. I just wanted to come on before I brought my guests on and just say hello to everybody. And I know there's a lot of new people that are here, and then there's like my old favorites. So thank you guys all for being here. I won't be able to say hi to all of you individually tonight. Obviously, this topic is extremely controversial. So I just need to make some straight comments on some ground rules for the chat, and make sure you guys know I really only have one rule here at my channel, and it's just to be kind. So if anybody in the chat is arguing or being rude to the guests or myself or anybody else, I don't block people. I literally have like 4 people blocked on the channel. So I don't want that to change tonight. So please, just, if you have an opinion, share it nicely, share it kindly. Always, always use kind words. As soon as you don't, the wrenches are going to have to remove you. And I don't want that to happen. So this has been interesting. And before I bring them up, I just want you guys to know, like, that there's a lot going on behind the scenes that I wasn't even aware of until very, very recently. And there's people out there that do not want this information out. They do not want the information out about how long this leak has been going on. They don't want any of it done. And there's weird underlying threats, and I don't even know how to explain it, because it's so bizarre to me that this is even happening, when literally the truth should not cause anybody to be upset. If it's the truth, like, let's just get it out there, and that's what it is. So, and I've talked to both of these guys for a little while, and I want to make it very clear that what's going to be put out tonight is going to be open for your own interpretation. What you guys choose to do with it and what you guys choose to take from it is on you. And Skip has made it very clear. He just wants to deliver the information so that the truth can be out there. And I think that you guys are going to appreciate that. So, like I said, I'm going to bring them up. Just please be kind. That's all I really care about. Just please be kind to each other and be kind to us. All right. Without further ado, here's Miss Julie. Hi, Julie.
Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. How you doing?
And then here is lovely Skip. Hi, Skip.
Hello. How are you?
How are you?
Good. Very good. Thanks for appreciate you having us.
I appreciate you guys coming on. So I had offered for you guys to be able to join the channel to go over all of it, just so I could help, because I know that Julie was, having a hard time with like figuring out all the StreamYard and sharing the screen and all that fun stuff. So I'm glad that you guys are here. I'm sorry that you guys are having to even deal with some of the really crazy shit behind the scenes. Hopefully everybody will keep an open mind and just pay attention to what the facts are, and we can go from there.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry too that we kind of brought that to your channel, but it is what it is.
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm worried more about just that this is even happening to begin with. Like, why isn't the truth allowed to come out? Like, it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's there's, I don't know. It's, I guess after tonight we'll see what shakes out. But the last couple of weeks have been strange, to say the least.
So why don't you tell us how you guys started talking about this and where everything kind of came from and like how we even ended up here to begin with?
I had basically, just because of some health stuff, I had kind of left the case a month or so ago, and just wasn't active in it at all. And it was about the time when the leaks were.
Sorry, Skip, I don't mean to interrupt, but the chat's having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. If there's any way you could just speak up just a tiny bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, let me get my volume just a hair. What about now? Better?
You were fine for me before, so I'll make sure that the chat can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Or I can hear you.
Yeah, like you're fine on our end, but for some reason they were saying you were kind of low.
Let me scoot up a little bit. I'm probably a little bit too far
Okay.
away. So anyway, I had kind of just left the case, wasn't active in it, and when the information about the leaks came out, I looked at it and I called Julie and I said, Julie, I don't think all this is right, because I've got some information about it and it just doesn't match up. And I asked her if she was interested in hearing about it. She said yeah, and so we started talking and kind of that's led us to where we are now.
Okay, so do you want to start from there, or do you have anything else you want to add before we put some things up?
Well,
Should I kind of maybe?
I think Julie probably wanted to address the what's maybe had gone on the last. I
do want to say something about because I was going to have it on my channel, so I think that people that were going to come on deserve an explanation. Is that okay?
Agreed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so obviously I apologize to anybody that came to the channel when I said that it was on delay. To me, it was on delay until further notice, but I guess I don't know the proper lingo. And so I apologize to anybody that took time out of their evening to come to the channel and wait for me. So I understand that made some people upset. I was contacted by somebody that somehow had my number, and I asked several times, how do you have my number? Who are you? I didn't get the explanation. However, it was because this person was speaking on behalf of Mark Cohen, giving me information as to why that we should not do the live. And it was really based upon the fact that his daughter was sick and in the hospital, and he was going through some trying times, and that, they knew that I had compassion, and, so to Skip, and please just hold off doing this for just a little while till he can get through this difficult time. And there were some things in there the daughter knows all about it and that kind of thing, which I thought, well, if my daughter was sick, I would never tell my daughter about this, and she would not know anything about it. But okay, I'll listen to you. And so I sent the messages to Skip, and I'm like, Skip, I want you to think about it. And we both decided, out of compassion for this being the truth, we weren't sure. We didn't know what was going on, but some people were sending us some other, hey, no, she's really not sick right now. But at that time, we didn't have any further information. So there was a lot of reasons that were given to me as to why we shouldn't go live. And then some other explanations as to Robert Cohen, things like basically the behind the scenes of everything that's gone on. And so there was this whole list of things. I was like, I was just going to go on with Skip to kind of clear the air on another thing. So, okay, I'll send this to him. And then Skip said, you know what, just out of respect for, let's just give the benefit of the doubt of a young child, because we don't want to hurt somebody with a child that's, and, our prayers go out to anybody that has an ailing family member. So, give the benefit of the doubt, because this is just YouTube. This is just this could wait. Sometimes stress and all that child's life can't wait. So we decided let's just hold off. And we were in agreement, and we left it at that. And then, because I'm not really good at YouTube, and you were so kind, Teresa, to offer your channel. We decided to go on your channel, but some things have happened today that, this evening, as to reasons we shouldn't go live. And I just said, listen, I'm just going to clear the air on something. I'm kind of like a side note, and this is Skip's deal. But then pretty much all of the messages were regarding Skip, regarding the defense. I don't know. I don't know if I want to say any more. And so it kind of like, whoa, this information is like, I don't know about this.
But it was over the top. It was too much. It got into the realm of threats, and if you do this, we're going to, do that type thing. If you go on the show and reveal anything, then we're going to do whatever. And that's, first of all, it's not going to work with us. Secondly, if things have gotten to that point, we're taking this, a little bit too seriously.
I don't know. I mean, kind of like, I'm not trying to cause any trouble for anybody. And I know you're not either. Both of you aren't either. We were just trying to kind of get the message out there that you have to open up your mind and think about a potential simultaneous leak of these photos at the perfect time, because, I'll let you say they were out there. They were out there before Richard Allen was ever arrested, and I'll just hand it to you.
Well, people were sharing. We'll get into all that, but I do want to add on top of that. We decided, we obliged. We said, what, the right thing to do is we're not trying to hurt anybody here. Okay, we just want to get to the truth. So we stepped aside and said, okay, we'll reschedule it. And that obviously didn't do any good, because that's turned into threats, and that we're doing it tonight. But we're just trying to, we told this person who was, I don't even know how the text thing was working, but we told this person that if Mark wants to call me, he's more than happy. I'll be more than happy.
Call me, because I said call me, because I just have some questions. Like, okay, here's how I feel about it. And I think
tell his story.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we just want like let's give a factual timeline here, chronological timeline. There's nothing to hide here. Let's just talk about what happened. And it kind of made me pause, like, is there something that shouldn't be put out there? Because is somebody going to be in trouble for it? That's what I didn't understand. Like, this is just a factual timeline here, so that people understand that before, unfortunately, this happened with Fortson, that these were already kind of there. It was already known that these were out there. So that's why I told the person that messaged me, hey, have Cohen call me. I want to talk to him. I have questions. Please give him my number. Well, I didn't have to say give him my number. You already knew my number, because they were messaging me. And that's I understand that, like, they were pulling at my heartstrings, and like, I'm a compassionate person. I want to do the right thing. So I was like, hey, Skip, look, this is what's out there. Let's give him a chance to talk about it. It's not anything. We're not condemning anyone or trying to harm anybody. We're just trying to talk about it.
And he declined. But doesn't want us to talk, but doesn't want to tell the story himself. And here's the thing: I don't think many people believe the current narrative is correct. And
so I want to pause you guys just for a second, because there are people in chat that are kind of confused on the context. So I want to back it up just so they know the who, the what, and the why we're even discussing it.
Okay.
You guys in chat, anybody who's followed the Delphi case, especially recently, you guys know that there was a recent leak of the crime scene photos of the girls. It's the actual girls. It's not the area around them, such as like we had the leak back last year with the clothes. And then earlier before the crime scene pictures were leaked, Julie dropped us.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. We had the leak of the email that was, and if you've been at my channel, we've been kind of going over this, so that a lot of people kind of have the context. But then last year also, there was the email that was sent from defense attorney Andrew Baldwin, was sent to a gentleman named Brandon Woodhouse, and he put the wrong email address in. He was supposed to be sending it to his partner attorney Brad, and he put in Brandon on accident. Then, but that was the, it's called a thumb drive map. So essentially what it is, it just is a placeholder for all the things that they were receiving in discovery. So then we had this year, we had the crime scene photos that came out after the defense released the Frank's memorandum. We also had the picture of the F tree that was released. So what's been happening is there's been a lot of commentary on the fact that these crime scene photos are not new, that they were leaked a long time ago. The defense attorneys were recently removed by Judge Gold, who quote unquote had a finding, which is a whole nother topic. We're not even going to go there. Had a finding of gross negligence due to the defense attorneys having an ex-employee who had access to the office and took photos of the crime scene pictures, sent them to his friend. So the ex-employee's name is Mitch Westerman, sent them to his friend whose name is Robert Fortson. Robert Fortson, once he was being questioned about the photos and the leak, actually committed suicide. And it came out that he had sent the photos to at least 2 people that we were aware of. One of those people is, he went by Mark Robert on Facebook, and then he went by Dread Pirate and Funko Cohen, 2 different Reddit accounts on Reddit, which is where he spent a lot of time discussing the information that he had. Well, Mark Cohen or Mark Robert, whichever one you want to go with, also had talked with Brandon Woodhouse during the leak of the thumb drive map and was involved in that. It now comes out that the reason that we're here tonight is that he had actually had a conversation with Skip in September of 2022. Now, remind you, Richard Allen was not arrested until October of 2022. He did not have a defense team in September. So what we're talking about is the fact that this Mark Robert gentleman had a conversation with Skip in September before Richard Allen's arrest. And what we're going to go through is that conversation that he had with Skip.
Correct.
Does that give context to everybody? Kind of takes us to where we're at right now. So now they were going to do a live on Julie's channel a few days ago. Somebody started messaging Julie, texting her with her phone number saying, hey, Mark's daughter, who is sick, is in the hospital. Please just hold off. And they said, okay, we're not going to screw anybody over. We're not trying to hurt anybody. We're trying to get to the truth of the matter. Like, who actually leaked these photos? Where did they actually come from? How long have they really been out there? Now, went back and forth on whether Mark's daughter was really sick or not. I think that at this point, that doesn't even matter, because what they were asking for, or what Mark was asking for, was kind of just give him the opportunity. And then they were like, okay, well, you can go clear the air yourself. And now they haven't. Or Mark and his crew or whoever has all these photos and who is all part of that haven't. So now here we are tonight, and Skip and Julie are like, no, we're just going to put the truth out there that this gentleman has been, who I've been questioning for a while, has been involved in a few different scenarios around all the different leaks, and that this person knew information back in September of 2022 that could not possibly have come from Mitch Westerman to Robert Fortson to Mark Robert to Skip. if that makes sense. Because
Yeah,
there was no defense team. There was no Mitch Westerman.
Right. Not only that, he says who it came from. And so if we believe,
that's where we're going to go through.
And I want to be straight about something. I'm just going to put these. We're going to put these. This is bits and pieces of a conversation over 5 or 6 months that he and I had. He contacted me for the first time on September the 12th, 2022, and we talked until about the 1st of March, 2023. But
do you want me to put that up yet or no?
You put the first one up just to show everybody, give them an idea of the time frame.
Okay.
And you can put up the first 4, that entire conversation. It's not really relevant to what the current case, but it'll kind of give everybody an idea of my thought pattern, or my mindset when we talked, and who he said he knew, got his information from, that kind of thing.
Okay, let me pull those 4 up then.
We don't let everybody else make their own interpretation for it. I'm not going to narrate this. It's just going to be, here's what it is, here's what he said. It's going to be his own words. Okay?
So that's why I was saying to you guys at the beginning too, it's you guys in chat, you can take away from this what you deem to take away from it. This is just the information that happened behind the scenes so that you guys know, where we're at.
And we kind of know what the narrative is around him and the other people. It'll give everybody an opportunity to juxtapose that with what he had a year ago, or 8 months ago, 9 months ago. Okay, so and see if that's real. See if that's consistent with 2 time periods.
Okay, so do you want to read through them, or do you want me just to put them on the screen? It's really up to you what you want to do.
You can just put them on screen, and I'll just talk over it.
Don't you think maybe sometimes, because sometimes people can't see them? I don't know. I mean, I think it might be helpful.
When he contacted me, he was under the username of Code 87.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that's what he talks about. He just.
Can you read it, Skip?
Yeah, introduces himself and talks a little bit about. Asked me if I've ever heard of a search warrant that was executed at a computer store in Delphi called Everything Computer. He proceeds to tell me that the computer store was the execution of the search warrant consisted of. There was a gentleman brought two laptops in a couple of days after the murders and asked the store if they could reset them to factory default. I wanted both computers reset to factory default. I believe.
There's a few people that can't see them, so we can read through them if that's easier. So I can make them bigger.
Like I said, this is not really relevant to the case, what's going on now. This has something to do with.
This is just the beginning conversation, right? This is just his introduction to you, his hello when you very first started talking to him,
and who his connections, his insight, that kind of thing.
Can I ask you this, Skip? This is information that was given to you that the general public would not have necessarily known about Everything Computers store in Delphi, where these 2 laptops were brought in and asked to clear, and the search warrant was issued, and then this man proceeded to then he proceeded to tell you what was on it. I would never have known that. I've been in this case for the entire almost 7 years. I've never heard of this until now. So this is from somebody that's privy to this information.
Right. I think the way it went was he went and gave them the computers, and when they were ready, he went and got them, and then they were seized in the Ron Logan search warrant. Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to read through them people that are on mobile just so they can see them, and then we can talk about the 4 of them. I'll put them all up together, but I'm just going to read through them just so that anybody who can't see them can actually hear, or anybody who's not watching and just listening can actually hear what they say too. So if you guys are looking at the screen, Mark is in the gray and Skip is in the white. So Mark says, "Hey man, how's it going? I have a lot of respect for your critical thinking." Skip says, "Thank you, I appreciate that." Mark says, "Can our conversation please remain private?" Like he was saying, like Skip said, the important part of this one is just to know the context and the timing of when they actually started talking.
Correct.
So I'll bring up the next one. So Mark says, or no, Skip says, "No reason to be nervous. Anything you say will stay between us. I'm not the kind of person to do anything like that. I wouldn't have some of the context I do if I didn't keep conversations private." Mark says, "Thank you."
And let me say something to that. Up until this was September of last year, up until a week or two ago, or a month ago, I had never told a single person about our conversation. Not one. That's why. Well, we'll get to that what that means later on, but I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, and that's fair. I think that it wouldn't even be coming out if anything was honest.
Yeah, its conversation stayed private, and let's put it this way. And I didn't get the same. He didn't return the same way, but that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so Mark says, "Do you know anything of a warrant served at Everything Computers?"
Right.
And Skip says, "Yes, it was one of the very first search warrants executed." Mark says, "Do you know why?"
Yeah, this is not. This isn't a continuous. It's but it gives you an idea of the conversation. There's more pages to it, but it'll give you an idea. He tells them that on exactly what happened. Somebody brought in 2 computers for factory reset a couple of days after the murders.
Okay, so someone brought in two laptops to be factory reset 2 days after the murders. The warrant was served at the end of March. Skip says, "Really? Did he say who it was? That time frame is interesting considering the Ron Logan search." And Mark says, "Ron Logan." Skip says, "Yeah, that makes total sense. Holy crap." Mark says, "Yeah, and the stuff on there, big yikes."
Yep. And then he goes on to say what was on there.
He said, and then Skip asked the content, and I know he's a perv, so I'm guessing porn type stuff. Mark says, "Yeah, really, really sick, violent pornography stuff." Skip says, "He's the guy." And then Mark says, "I now think so too. I can try and get some more information, but that's the gist of it."
Yeah. So after we had this conversation, I took the information he gave me. He had kind of let on that he was either worked in the store, knew somebody who worked in the store, because he said he had seen the search warrant, knew about everything that was on the hard drive, all of that. So that's how our relationship started. With I think, hey, maybe this guy knows something. But I took it to a couple of people I respect and to try to verify, and but that's where we got going.
Okay, so let me see the question. Are we sure Mark's telling the truth here, or is he fishing?
Don't know. I don't know. I had someone ask Barbara McDonald if she had ever heard of that, and I don't know. We never got an answer. So
I'm going to say he's telling the truth. That's my guess. That's my opinion, because what's in there that's not to be truthful.
Yeah, I thought it seemed like it was possible. And since there had been stories or rumors of that kind of thing, the sticks and stuff.
Did you read that, Teresa, about the bestiality and the sticks and the?
Yeah,
no, I don't.
He talks about that. There's a lot of the videos he mentions they're violent, but he also says that there was sticks inserted in women, bestiality type things. Nasty stuff, So. But
so the context of the conversation is is simply because this is the first conversation that they're having, that Skip and Mark are having together. This is how the conversation starts. This is when it starts, which was September of 2022. This is what the topic is. It's just to give you guys the timeline and how the beginning of this friendship online, whatever you want to refer to it as, I don't know, but I'm putting words in your mouth and I apologize for that. But this is the beginning of this conversation.
Right. And for the next 5 or 6 months, we talked about many things. We didn't talk just about crime scene photos or search warrants there. We talked about everything in the case, we would go depending on whatever was happening in the case was kind of dictated whatever we talked about. But he mentioned something to me early on that I thought was pretty interesting, and that goes to what some of the stuff we're dealing with now. You can put that one up.
Can I?
Okay.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Can I just say something? Personally, okay. He's establishing a relationship with Skip. They're just talking back and forth. He's mentioning things. Richard Allen has not been arrested. The defense is nowhere in the picture. At this point in time, we don't have anybody that did this crime. There's no reason for, because I've seen in the chat, people are saying, oh, he's not been honest, whatever. That may be true later on. But at this point in time, think about what would be the reason for this. I mean, it's possible. My personal opinion is like, what would be the reason for him to contact him and say these things? There's nothing. It's like, hey, hey, I'm hungry. Okay, no, you're lying. No, it's kind of like there's not a whole lot of anything to it right now. I don't understand why he might even be trying to lie there. So I would say he's being honest with him.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
That was just got it started, and like I said, I like Mark. And that's why I kept everything secret, private for this whole time. But then when the recent stuff came out, I thought back to a year ago, and I was like, well, that shines a little bit different light on our conversation over that period of time.
Right. It's the recent events that have now brought us to this.
Exactly.
So you want number 5?
Yeah, there's one thing. But yeah, put 5 up, and I'll tell you what the significance of it is. Mark, we're gonna go ahead just a little bit to Richard Allen getting arrested, okay? And we'll jump back. But he always believed Richard Allen was his bridge guy, okay? And he even had a theory that involved geocaching. It involved a store in Delphi named Treasures in the Woods and its owner, Ricky Baker. The whole thing, as you'll see, is kind of is convoluted and unusual, but he had a very strong belief. And the reason that's important is I've heard recently people have said, oh, well, maybe he was just pretending. He wasn't pretending. He had this theory. He actually wanted, as we took the relationship a little further, I realized he wanted me, because I knew some content creators. He wanted me to take that information to them to see if they were interested, and I did. Took it to Murder Sheet. I wasn't real friendly with him at the time, but he wanted me. That was a particular one. I took it to them. They weren't interested, and which look, when I heard about the way the leak went down, that was kind of interesting, because they were like, yeah, they thought he was a nut, and we're not interested in the geocaching thing or anything he's got to say. And then I heard they were the ones that, he sent the crime scene photos to. So I guess geocaching is no good, but crime scene photos are. So anyway, this theory he had was it was no better or worse than any other theory out there. I don't judge people, their theories, just because the investigation has been such a disaster. It's hard for anybody to get a good hold on any of it. So it was fine. Like I said, I liked him. I thought I was trying to help him, so I took it to people, and but ended up not getting. I guess it just didn't gain the kind of ground he wanted to. So then now you can go to the next one.
Can I just say
Okay,
something,
so just to
Axel?
clarify that really quick, Julie, and then I'll let you say something. But just to clarify, what he's talking about is that throughout the year of Richard Allen being arrested, Mark was telling him that he truly believed that Richard Allen was the guy once Richard Allen was arrested. So that conversation we just went through was prior to that. And then once Richard Allen's arrested, he absolutely believes it's Richard Allen, according to what he's telling Skip. And we've talked about plenty of times that he actually tells Brandon Woodhouse that he thinks he's totally innocent, tells Rick Snay that he believes he's innocent but has to lie and say that he's on the side of guilty. But then on Reddit, he's posting that he thinks he's guilty. So it just depends on who he's talking to and what he actually thinks.
Exactly. That's what it seems to be. But he had a theory all. I mean, it was really in depth. It had some strange components to it. It had a luring component, but by mistake almost. It was like somebody knew the girls were going to be out there, but it's not BG. But it was something that he just didn't come up with overnight. And it wouldn't have been. You wouldn't spent that kind of time on it if you didn't think he was guilty.
I just wanted to say, so Yellow Jacket said, you guys are missing the point. Mark lied about everything. He made things up depending on who he was talking to and what kind of information they were seeking.
That's true.
Right. He just played into whoever he was talking to. If they thought the person was guilty, then he thought they were guilty.
Yeah. I think that my relationship with him was a little bit unique because it probably started earlier than most of the other ones. So I got to so like I said, it started in September. So I think most of the people who've talked are December, January, and stuff like that. So, but anyway,
okay. So this then doesn't have a time on it. Doesn't have a date on it. So do you happen to know?
It went on from the time he was arrested until I stopped talking to him. So it was as long as so the time frame on that was not really important because as long as I knew him, he thought that.
Okay. So should I read through this one then?
Yeah, I thought it was important because I'm seeing a lot of excuses. He pretended to like. Come on, why is somebody putting out false stuff?
I think that most of us are wanting to know the answer to that, and I think that's why we're here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, so why? I mean, I know it's false. I'm 100% positive it's false. So why is somebody doing that?
The thing is that this whole recent narrative, you can tell it's false, but nobody can actually pinpoint what the truth is. We all just know that it's not legit at this point. Right. So here we are. This is why we're like, we're trying to get back and figure out what the timing is, where all these leaks definitely came from, and how does one man from Reddit and Facebook end up in all of these different leaks and connected to all of the different people who are leaking the information?
I'm glad you mentioned.
I think we need to actually I think something needs to be known for sure. I think maybe most people know this and maybe they don't, but there is a direct connection between Mark Robert Cohen and Robert Fortson for sure. And from what I understand, there is a direct connection from Mitch Westerman and Robert Fortson. And I was told, so this is a rumor, because this part I can't back up, but the other stuff I can. And this part is like, I was told they were all three like in a group together, talked with each other or whatever. And that Mitch Westerman went to Robert Fortson's funeral, and there was an altercation between Robert's brother and Westerman.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the word leak, because as we get to the next few pages, you're going to start seeing that word used a lot. And it was used a lot earlier maybe than a lot of people realize. And I think that, and keep in mind, focus on that. Don't focus on it. focus. I mean, think about what you've heard. Who's the leaker? You know, why did they leak? Who got hurt by the leak? All that stuff. Focus on what's being said, right? When someone says, we plan on leaking, I decided not to leak at this time. Just you'll see as we go through.
Yeah, I think that some of you guys are kind of confused. You're going to start to see the pattern. So, so this conversation is just him talking to you about his theory and what is.
Yeah, and it has to do. Yeah, that you can go. We can get past that.
Okay, so Mark says Baker did provide some information. All of it was lies. Very, very unclear as to why, though. Skip says because of the geocaching. Who knows? Look forward to hearing more. Good night. I just remembered something. Didn't Ricky Baker go out to the bridge and remove the geocache container almost immediately? Maybe I'm misremembering. Okay, good night. And Kelsey and Libby were arguing about when she dropped them off. Shit, I can't remember. And then Mark says he sure did.
Okay, yeah. That again. He's supplying me with all of this information. Okay, he's the one that has an inside source apparently.
Can you just clarify, because I mean I'm listening to you guys and I happen to already know what this is, but people listening may not understand that the treasures in the wilderness, isn't that what it's called?
Treasures in the woods.
Oh, it's in the woods. It's not in the wilderness. Okay. So it's a place. It's a deer processing plant. But Ricky Baker is the owner of that plant. And are you going to be bringing that up about, law enforcement coming to talk to him, or is that
we'll tie that in, but because that's important. But the main thing with that is just to show the belief at the time, and because here's the thing, everybody agrees that the leak hurt the defense, right? Everybody agrees to that 100%. So
that the leak is from the defense?
No, that it hurt the defense. It was hurtful.
That it hurt the defense. Well, I don't know if everybody agrees with that, because a lot of people think that they did it. But I mean, I think that the majority of people who are listening right now or are partaking in the conversation right now definitely have questions, and that how did it benefit the defense to do that?
I mean, they got thrown off the case. The end result, bad for the defense. Okay.
Even if they hadn't gotten thrown off the case, I don't see how it would benefit them at all, because they already put the 136-page memorandum out there. That was enough. And it doesn't matter if the entire nation were to see these photo leaks. It doesn't matter. The only people that it matters to are the people on the jury. It doesn't matter at all to anybody else. It doesn't.
And then now let's go back a little bit prior, because I'm referring here to, I said, you ever find anything about everything computer, which was the very first thing he said. Here I ask him what he had, what evidence does he, because he starts talking about evidence that he has that nobody else has. He says a few warrants, crime scene photos, and notes from Mike Thomas. Let me preface that a little bit by saying he's obviously saying here he's got some kind of access to somebody in law enforcement. You'll see it's clearly not Mike Thomas later, but I guess the file, where the notes could have been in a file, and then he also claims he's got photos. This first time he ever mentions photos. Okay, clothing, shoe prints, carved tree, indentations from tripod, nothing majorly graphic, but, and this is important because it'll come up again, I believe the person who or nothing majorly graphic, but I believe the person who has these has those as well. And he later mentions that he has those and talks about the clothes, changing of the clothes or putting girls' clothes back on. But at the time when he says that rumor was kind of out there. So I didn't know if he's just reading stuff off another, forum and just coming and bringing it to me, So I was still kind of leery about what all he was saying at that time.
Well, and I'm going to throw in a screenshot of that Prof actually had posted real quick, just to kind of put that in context too with this timing. And it's from Discord, but it talks about from December 5th of 2022, somebody who is a deleted user now talks about that Abby was wearing Libby's clothes. So
Yeah, that
in December of 2022, they knew that.
Yeah, and he mentioned it. I wouldn't be surprised if that's him because he mentioned it to me. So, and mentioned it well prior to December, 2 months prior. So,
right. Okay. So let's go back to that one. I just wanted to throw that out there to show it's out there.
Right.
Okay. So you want the next one?
Yeah, you can get the next one. That's the same one.
Is it?
Yeah, that was the first. Like I said, that was the very first time that he mentions any crime scene photos. First time he.
Okay.
And now this goes back into the. Let's see. This goes back into the geocaching thing and more talk about, Let's see. I'm trying to see where we are. Is that number 6?
Yes.
Yeah, this is just him talking more about there's more compelling evidence and something about some photographic evidence, that shines light or points to this Ricky Baker guy and Richard Allen, and the significance, he said, of the treasures in the woods is right next door to JC's bar, which is the bar that Richard Allen frequented. Apparently the shop owners know each other really well and know Rick and all that. So, and again, the theory was based around there's some kind of luring that went on out there. That's where the geocaching part came in. But it was done by somebody other. And so it wasn't going to be able to be digitally discovered. So anyway, that was what he was. That was the narrative. That was the theory he had. But it was all revolved around Richard Allen being guilty.
Okay. So you want me to read through this one?
No, you don't.
Okay.
That was you go to the next one.
You want me to go to the next one? Okay.
Yeah. And this one again, same stuff. He's still talking about the geocaching. Talks about Baker and BW are close friends. Anybody who follows the case knows who BW is. Again, he's just throwing things out, clues out that pieces of the puzzle that go with his theory. So you move on to the next one. So what we need, because we'll focus on what I'm trying to do a timeline here and showing what he said, and if it matches up with what he's currently saying these days.
Okay.
Okay. This is when he introduces part of it as a photographer. He talks about a weird photographer that was out there that day. Okay, and most people know the Keener guy. That's not who this is. This is someone else. We'll see his name here in a second. But he was a photographer, and he was on the bridge the morning of the search.
Okay.
Okay. Go to the next page. You'll see who he is.
Oh, the next one. Okay.
Yeah.
Go out there.
His name is Brandon Baker. I didn't look into him or anything. I didn't think there was much significance of it. So, but as he started talking about a weird photographer, tripod indentions, crime scene photos, I started kind of seeing a pattern. It's kind of trying to almost lead you somewhere.
So is this the Baker guy?
Yeah, not the guy who not a different Baker than Treasures in the Woods.
Okay, a different Baker. Is he related to that Baker?
No, not related.
Okay.
It's funny too because the guy who is in charge of the geocache at the bridge, his last name's Baker as well.
Oh, geez. Are they? None of them are all related?
No relation. And you go past
Okay.
it. Yeah.
So this guy was out there that morning
Yeah. In search
on the 14th.
on the 14th.
Okay.
Yeah. He talks about it in the previous one. And so you can see I'm asking him about geocache stuff because it's still, we're still talking about that. It's still related. Our conversation is still related to that. And this is, I was curious about where he was going with this, and it says on there in that photo that that's Eric Williams. And the skip, does that look like Eric Williams? And it's not. It's just a mislabel. Whoever put that on their Facebook post or whatever posted the wrong name.
Okay, so this was not Eric Williams.
No.
And Joe Bridge.
Brandon Baker, yeah.
Okay, got you.
Yeah. Now that should take us to here. Okay, here is where I ask him who his source is. We've talked long enough now. I'm like, who are you getting this information from? And I guess he felt like he could tell me, and he didn't tell me the name, but he told me the description. He says, it's not Mike Thomas or Mark. If you want to read it, you can.
Okay, so this says not Mike Thomas or Mark Pinkard. Circle this is someone. Liggett promised something to and did not deliver and gave it to someone else. And then you ask an employment opportunity, and Mark says, yeah, a nice 9 to 5 gig. And then you say a politician lying to someone, shocker. And he says, do you know of a Drew Yoder? And then you say, yeah, he was involved in Flora, right? And he says, honestly, I know nothing about Flora.
Yeah. That is when he told me his source is someone in Carroll County.
So, but not from the Mike Thomas or Mark Pinkard circle. It's someone that Liggett promised something to and did not deliver and gave it to someone else.
Correct. So that's
Why did he ask about Drew Yoder? Why did he ask about him? He just brought it up out of the blue. What was that all about?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember thinking, because we talked enough to I got the point where tell me who your source is. I want to know where this information's coming from, because it sounds legit, but tell me where it is. And so he says it's from Carroll County, and that's not what we hear now.
Well, you don't bring somebody's name up if you don't like the other person. If another person is just going to bring this name up and you're asking about the sources, he's not just going to bring it up just for the heck of it. There was a purpose for that. We just don't know the purpose.
Exactly. And look, if you look at all the stuff that we talk about tonight, you go, well, he's just a liar. Okay. But remember that. Okay. Remember, he's just a liar.
About this part right here?
No, if you decide Mark Cohen is lied about all this stuff, remember that. Because
okay, so do you think you brought up Yoder?
Yoder's truth about all this other stuff. He could. He's a liar.
Okay. So we don't know if any of it's accurate or not anyway.
Well, we don't know. We don't know if anything he's ever said is. But look, this all sounded legit, and it sounded, So anyway, that's when he told me who his source was. So that's what it was. Somebody in Carroll County.
Okay.
I never figured out who that was. Yeah.
Well, I was wondering if he was asking you about Yoder, because if Yoder was the source, like, hey, do you know who? In that same conversation, he's like, hey, do you know who Drew Yoder is?
Possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was dropped, but to me, that's a significant person, because we know that he is central in this entire thing with not only Delphi but with Flora, the whole thing. So I think that you have to at least ponder that there's something there.
Yeah, and this is where I ask him what is his motivation here? What is he trying to do? I ask everybody that if I'm talking to him. I want to know why are you telling me all this stuff? What's the significance of it? Where do we go from here, type thing? And he tells me that it's a well, you can read it.
Okay, so he says, all right, so what I'm comfortable saying on the connection is that we are forever linked together through the death of a child, and that the kindest people are the ones who give generosity without expecting anything in return. What does this pertain to?
He never told me. He just said that was his connection to Delphi.
That he's connected to Delphi, forever linked through the death of a child?
He explained a little more. There was a couple that had a child die. I believe it may have been a former police officer, but I never asked him who it was. I thought it was a little too personal. I wasn't going to get into all that. So, but that was his connection. That was how he got into Delphi. Delphi was why he was trying to do this. Why it was important to him. That's what it was. So
okay.
We'll go to the next.
Okay, we'll go to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he says, I'm going to give it a little more time before I send you more photos. I just want to make sure that what I sent doesn't get out. If it did, I picked one that was okay with being out there. Just building trust. You see, I completely understand. Honestly, I have no one to share anything with, so it definitely won't get out. Don't feel like you have to share anything. I appreciate anything you do share, but it's your call 100%. He says, the gist of the new info is that someone lied about something pretty big, and photographic evidence has surfaced that directly, I can't see the bottom of that message. So what is he talking about here?
He's talking about, this is where the sharing of photographs, he comes up and starts talking about it at a little quicker pace than he had before. He sent me a photograph of something it's evidence. He's trying to show he's got, I guess he's trying to show he has evidence or access to evidence, access to the police files. So, and that's kind of what this latest thing has been, right? Somebody had access to the files.
So what pictures had he sent you at this point? Because he's saying, I just sent you the one that I wanted. It was okay with being out there. What did he send you?
I was a picture of, what was it?
Was it the F tree or what? Was it that one or what was it?
I'm trying to remember what it was. It wasn't anything big because he even says there, I didn't want to put the first one on you, it was, it had something to do with the crime scene. I remember that it was a photograph, but it wasn't anything of the girls, or it wasn't anything in really. I don't know. Let me think. We'll get back to that. But it wasn't. Okay. It wasn't significant. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think it was.
And do we know the date of this conversation? Or are we still talking? Yeah, this is still beginning of last year.
Yeah, we're in late December now.
Okay.
Middle.
So, and I will tell you guys that the conversation that Skip and Mark had lasts from September 12th, I believe was the first date, and the last date I think is March 1st of 2023. So anything that you are seeing is in between that time frame.
Yeah, and as we get into him talking about the photos and the leaking and all that, that was mostly December, January. Well, started in September, but was now into December, January. When it kind of picked up. You'll see in the next one.
Okay, so he says, I think you know what I'm saying without me actually having to say it. You say, you mentioned that this person was planning on leaking something but changed their mind. Were they going to leak the photos you have? I'm not 100% sure I do, but that's okay. Sometimes I'm not real insightful. And then he says, yeah, they were planning on leaking 3 photos. The knife, the carving, and the one I'm referencing. Yeah,
the carving goes from that to he changes it to marking as he goes along. I don't know if that's significant or anything, but just the way he phrases it. But these are the things he said that they're planning, that he is whoever he's talking to, they're planning on leaking things.
Right. And so it's interesting because for a very long time, and I've said on this channel too, I always heard that the mark on the tree was carved.
Yeah.
That it was carved into the tree, not actually in blood. The first time I'd ever actually heard it was in blood was on the memorandum. And then as I started to dig through like other people's channels who had covered it, somebody had mentioned it being in blood around this time last year. And so
Right.
I thought that was quite interesting because I'm like, wait a minute, it does actually change to being in blood. And so they were going to leak photos of a knife. Did you clarify this? What knife?
A knife that was not used. Well, a knife that was not used in the crime. There was there was a knife left at the crime scene. Now he didn't go into detail about was it what was the condition of the knife? Was it was the blade broken? Was because that happens a lot. But he said there was a knife found.
Okay.
Yeah,
and the one I'm referencing. Do you know what that one is regarding? He says, and the one I'm referencing. Which one is he referencing?
The one he is referencing is, let me go back and see. He's
because I don't think I had that in a screenshot.
Knives carving. What was on the page before? I think what was the photo that was the tripod indentions.
Okay, so at this point in time, he's saying that he has access to the pictures of the clothing. He has access to the photo of the knife, the carving in the tree, and the one he's referencing, which is the tripod.
And footprint. And he says, and clarifies it later. He says, and the graphic ones, which I believe they have. And he comes back later and says, yeah, they do. And which is meaning because he mentioned the girls, clothes were put on.
Okay. So he knew all of this back in, and that's the tough part, I guess, without having more of the actual timestamps on these. I should have asked for that before we went live, and I apologize. That's actually my fault. But we know that the conversations happened between September and March, but because of the arrest, it makes me very curious if these are after arrest that he was getting photos or prior to arrest. Can you tell me a date that this conversation is?
This one right here would have been post arrest, probably, but pre-discovery. So it wouldn't have been anything the defense had.
Well, they wouldn't have had it, and they wouldn't have had anything at that time.
Right.
Okay, got you. So, okay, here we go. We'll go to the next one.
But again, we go back. He's claiming who his source is.
It's somebody from Carroll County, but we don't actually know who it is.
Yeah, right. But he's saying somebody from Carroll County is the source of this information.
And not in Mike Thomas's circle.
Correct.
So you have to, it's not whether you believe that or not. That's a whole nother.
Well, that's the way it is with anybody,
What's that?
Right.
Isn't there a rumor out there? People were trying to figure out where this email was coming from. It starts with an S, and then there's.
Oh, the recovery email.
Yeah. What was that all about?
It was whoever sent the photos to the content creators. That whole mess has gotten so ridiculous. They had the first initial and the amount of characters for the recovery email, and they're trying to figure out who it is.
Okay.
So
you're fine. I was just looking at Digital's count. When is it documented that crime scene photos were turned over from the prosecutor to the defense? I think that's a great question, Digital. I think we'll have to look at that. I don't have that in front of me. I think
the deadline, or not deadline. There's on February the 7th. There's an article that says the defense thinks they will have all the evidence by February the 10th. they'll have
And
all
we
the
know
discovery.
we know that that's not true, because they were still looking for more, and the final deadline before trial was going to be November 1st before these guys got kicked off the case.
Yeah. So,
So I think anybody who's not picking up what's being put down is the fact that this guy had access to all of this information before the defense had access to this information. So does it finalize? Are these particular crime scene photos part of a separate leak, or were they already out there from a year ago? I mean, I don't know if it will answer that question at the end of this for you guys or for myself, but what it does say is that he knew information before there was even a defense team.
And definitely knew everything before the defense team had any information.
Mm-hmm. It's
okay. So, go ahead.
It goes back to that who was harmed by the leak. Yeah.
This whole thing just looks a little suspect. The whole you've got a lot of people on one end that have the crime scene photos, and they're already talking about a leak, but then they're going to hold off on a leak. And then you've got, this whole thing that happens with the defense. And then they put out a 136-page memorandum. And then lo and behold, a guy that worked for Baldwin just suddenly just shows up at the height of, the biggest case in probably in the United States as far as this double homicide with these teenagers. And he's, I'm just stopping by to visit. He takes these, allegedly takes these photos, whatever, sends them to Robert Fortson, which is also connected to Mark Cohen, which was already telling Skip that he had these. And then it's like, boom. And then now here we are. We're going to the Supreme Court because the defense gets blamed for this leak. This guy, you've got the murder sheet saying, hey, we're going to take this in our hands. We're going to report it to police. And now police investigate the guy, offs himself. Unfortunately, I mean, it's a very sad thing. And this is where we are. It just, all this stuff is very bizarre. It's really odd. I don't know if there's a connection, but I know people have to be thinking along these, like, what's going on here? This is strange. And
one thing to remember too here is you're going to see where he's talking about leaking a lot. You're going to see leaking a lot. What you're not going to see is ever mentioned about being uncomfortable or needing to take these to the police.
Yeah, that he has these, and there's never a conversation about that they need to go, that he needs to tell somebody that he has these.
Yeah, and then compare that to what we've been told about the recent, and just weigh it for yourself. Whatever you got. I'm not trying to steer anybody in any direction. Come up with your own determination.
Right. So there's a couple questions, and I just want to answer them really quick. So, somebody's asking, like, at the end of this, are we going to know who the mass leaker was? Well, no,
but
not at the end of the live.
Yeah.
But you're gonna see that this leak, this however many you want to say that there are, this has been ongoing before there was even a defense team. That there was information being pushed out, not via even mainstream media, via slow leaks coming from people on Facebook and Reddit, like that they were put there intentionally to do that, I think is the point of this. Now, who is the mass leaker that sent things out to all the content creators? I don't know, but I know that Art of Deduction is in the chat, and I know he did a live earlier today discussing what his personal investigation has come up with. I don't have any proof one way or the other of who it was, so I don't want to sit here and say, but I can't say I don't know. I don't have anything to back that up. But if you want to watch his video from earlier where he discusses who that person was, that's kind of a separate thing, because if Robert Fortson sent these to Mark and then sent them to this female person who supposedly sent them to the creators, this is the Mark part of that side, if that makes sense. The female part of that side only sent out this stuff, as far as we know. If we find out that there was more, then shit, I'll do another live and we can go through everything that she did. I just don't have that.
At a minimum, this shows somebody actively trying to leak crime scene photos back well prior to anything we ever heard of Westerman or Fortson. So just remember, keep that in mind.
Jay Turner just said, that the murder sheet called it a catastrophic leak on the defense's team watch. But here's how I feel about this. Once these photos have been out there from day one, there's a lot of people that would have had them. Look how many people were at the crime scene. Obviously, I mean, I've seen these photos. The photos that I've seen that I got, they're not. I would venture. I mean, I'm 99% sure that they are not official crime scene photos. There's nobody standing around. Nobody's walled it off. Somebody was there ahead of time, took all these photos, and they got them. So they've held on to them. I don't know what they've done with them. I mean, there's, so there was a mass leak. They got them to like 59 people, and then they were sent on. I've heard that, then after that, the darkness said, hey, I got these photos. And then he sent it on to the MS. And then the MS decided they're going to report it to the police. And then once they report it to the police, then they went to question this person, which I don't get all that, because I even tried, like, my whole deal was I've tried to stop Anthony Greeno. Don't go report it to police, mind your business. It's just going to cause a bunch of trouble. Who cares? Okay. It's what's done is done. Once there's photos, once you have them in your hand, I'm going to tell, it doesn't matter. It what's done is done. There's nothing that can be undone, and it's done, and all that, the rest of it just causes problems. Obviously, it caused problems, so much so for Robert Fortson, and now his family doesn't have Robert anymore. So that was kind of my whole point with what I was trying to get Anthony, mind your own business. It doesn't matter. Just deal with it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. He wanted me to talk. Yeah, he wanted me to talk to Murder Sheet, but not about the photos.
I'm just saying, the leak. There's one thing about a leak, and then really it was what happened after that, and how people got themselves involved, and all these actions. There's a reaction, there's an action, there's a reaction. I mean, here we are now. We wouldn't have been here.
Well, unfortunately, we have somebody lost their life, and it's sad, and that person's not around to defend themselves, and so we'll probably never know. That was why I thought this was important, because it gives you an insight into somebody who's actively leaking. Mm-hmm. Not everybody is a leaker. Not everybody does that. You're going to see that how what I say in a few about I'm not comfortable with it. So not everybody will just participate in it. It's
okay, because you were going to be like given these things like to leak it, and you're like, oh, that's okay. I don't need to be. I don't know that I want to kind of be in the middle of this, and then so like you said, he's going to just move on to somebody else.
Right. That was what I realized, that his interest in me was it wasn't because he really liked my critical thinking. It was because he knew I had access to some content creators, and like I said, I was trying to help him. I went to Murder Sheet, I went to Fig. They both weren't interested, and so I moved on.
So he wanted you to talk to the content creators. Did he say like he wanted you to talk to them to talk to them about, or to just get him in touch with them, or to get him to give them this information? And what was he wanting you to talk to them about?
He wanted me to get in touch so he could get in touch with them. I think maybe an introduction, I guess, was what it was, and I would go to him and I would tell him I didn't say a word about about photos being leaked or anything. But I told him about the geocaching, if I knew if he met him and talked to him, he could talk to him about whatever. But that he just wanted to meet him. He was trying to, I think, just network a little bit in true crime, I guess. I didn't have a problem with it. I was. I
just want to say something, Skip. I'm just going to say this, like, if you want to connect with someone, you do it yourself. But there was a relationship already established. There was already sharing of information. Now it was time for you to now connect to the people that you knew and say, hey, this is what I know about this guy. Because it wasn't just, hey,
Yeah,
I can't do it on my own. I need you to do it. There was a reason.
Fig or murder sheets, they'll verify that I talked to them more than once about him. And so, that's no big deal, but they will 100% verify. They remember the conversations. They just weren't interested in what was, so.
They weren't interested in getting access to this information about having photos of clothes, having photos of a tripod.
No. I never mentioned anything about crime scene photos.
They didn't believe it, right? They didn't believe they didn't believe it. Is that why?
They didn't believe. Yeah. Well, no. It was. I told them about the theory about the geocaching and the luring and the treasures in the woods and all that. I wasn't going to tell them about the other stuff. But he wanted me to introduce him, and I didn't have a problem with that. It's just it was networking, no big deal. So I went to him and told him and said, "Here's who he is." Fig had heard of him, Murder Sheet hadn't, and they said, I don't know, didn't have time, wasn't whatever it was. We never made the connection.
Okay, so did we already go through this one, or has this one just been up here for a while?
Yeah, we talked about that one, right? That was the one that said,
I don't know if we actually did. What would you like to know? And we can go from there. If I feel comfortable sharing, I will. If I don't, I won't. If I don't know, I'm not going to pretend like I do. Sound fair? You said I'm comfortable with whatever you want to share. You don't have to share anything. I might be able to verify something, but I'm not going to ask you to share anything that you don't want to. I'd like to see anything you have, but that's totally up to you. He says, I'm going to give it a little time before I send you more photos. Oh, maybe these came through in a different order because that's the beginning of that next one.
Oh, before I give you more photos, yeah. So again, we're talking about, he's sharing things and he's slow playing it, and that's cool with me. And he always is talking about how he's trust and all that kind of stuff. And I'm always downplaying. I'm like, listen, you don't have to show me anything. And that's the way I felt. I wasn't requesting anything. This guy contacted me.
Right. So he's like, yeah, I just want to wait a little bit before I share anything else.
Yeah.
Can I read something that generally Jenny wrote? She goes, I'm confused because this is raising more questions than answering or clarifying, besides showing Marcus less than reliable.
Well, I think that's a fair assessment. It's going to raise more questions. It's going to answer questions, and it's going to raise questions. I think it just depends on which questions you are.
Can I have my popsicle?
Yes, please, you can. Whatever ones. Sorry, tiny human alert. Whatever questions you already had. I know random timing on the popsicle. I apologize for that. But if you had questions, this could answer them. This also will create new questions because we still won't know. We still don't know who the person is that's sending him the info. All he's telling Skip at this moment is that it's somebody from Carroll County. That's what he's saying. It's somebody from Carroll County, but he's not going to actually name their name. He's saying they're not tied with my
person. Would you say
it's a disgruntled person who was offered a job and didn't get it.
Liggett did something, didn't offer them a job or something.
Right.
And it was kind of, they were upset about it or whatever, so there was a revenge component to it or something. I don't know. But again, I wasn't.
So go ahead.
When he would say, I'll send you these, I was like, I would always be like, you don't have to send me anything, man. I'm not, this is you coming to me and me trying to take you to meet some people in the true crime community, so. I mean, he was under no, he wasn't required to show me anything, and I didn't ask for anything. But I think the thing is to focus on is what was going on at the time and who has. Look, we're all known for what we've done in the past, right? Who has been leaking prior to this? What we know went on now. Everybody wants to blame so and so, and unfortunately, there's somebody who's not alive anymore, and he can't defend himself. So, this is just showing who's been doing it in the past.
I kind of wonder, when you talked about, because there wasn't any specifics about somebody that was, was promised a job or whatever. I mean, there are several people that either were dismissed, they left, they were fired, and there are people that were on the police force at the time that were there at the crime scene that are no longer there. So,
well, I mean, look, he was very, very. I mean, his connections were in Carroll County. That was because before there was an arrest, right? There was no defense team, so your connections had to be in Carroll County. If you had connections to the case and case files, information, evidence, it would have had to been with law enforcement in Carroll County, Indiana State Police, because those would have been the only people with it.
Right. So I just want to address something really quick. Go ahead, Julie. You want to talk about the unravelings comment?
I was looking at the unraveling. No, that's good. And I want them to think about JD too.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And that's why I highlighted it. I want to address the precision overload, because they've been in here the whole time that we've been talking about this, and they're very much pushing that this is just some speculation. Oh, and I want to make sure that you guys in the chat are paying close attention to everything that this lovely precision overload is saying. And the reason that their comments are not being deleted and that person is not being blocked is because I have it. I'm going to go ahead and put just a nice little guess out there that you are the one who was sending the lovely threatening messages that we were receiving within the hour that we went live, because everything that you said in here is very close to what was happening in those messages. And I'm going to tell you right now, precision overload.
You are so perceptive. I noticed that too. I didn't say anything.
I'm going to tell you though, you can go ahead and say that there's thousands of different leaks and that there's this, there's that, and the other, and that they were friends and this has been horrible. And that's fine. Go ahead. Keep saying it. Keep trying to spin your narrative. But I will tell you right now, you are on the wrong channel wasting your time, because I do not buy Mark Roberts' narrative. I will not buy it. You will not sell it to me. I want nothing to do with it. I do not believe that Mark Robert is some great guy who's done all these great things for this case. Mark Robert Cohen has been involved in every leak, attached to every person who has leaked for a very long time. So if you are trying to get somebody in here to take your side, you are in the wrong live chat. I do not buy what you are selling. So keep trying to sell it, but you are wasting your time.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was watching that and I'm like, that's the person that messaged me. I know it is.
Yeah, they said the same thing.
Nobody's questioning
not Mark, but it is somebody who is apparently friends with Mark or whatever. I don't even know. Yeah. But I'm just telling you right now, I'm not buying it, and I don't care what you're trying to sell. Because it's obvious. If you can't read between the lines here, you can see that this gentleman had photos, whether it was these exact photos. I will not sit here and say it is, because I have not had proof of that yet.
Me either.
Oh, LOL. That's really, yeah, LOL. That's your response to it. Yeah, just keep commenting. I'm good with it. I'm not going to delete your comments, and the wrenches won't either.
These are words.
But we're going to keep going, because I'm going to tell you right now, Mark Robert Cohen, Mr. Not a Good Guy, I want to make sure anything and everything that he has done to destroy the evidence in this case and to put it out in his, what does he say, slow leaks that he likes to do, I'm going to make sure I blast every single one of them. So you can threaten and you can do whatever you want. I will not stop. And all you're doing is actually making it so I want to do more. So I'm going to get back to this, and I apologize, but I just tell by the comments, I'm like, I know the kind of crap that you were sending to them before the live. I saw it, and that's gross.
It was ridiculous, wasn't it? Somebody would send that.
I think you're right on that person. Because you know what? I started seeing some of the messages, and I'm like, I know that's not the same. You know, I all I know is I had a number, but I'm like, the terminology, you know, like, you know, when somebody's somebody's have done something wrong and they can't figure it out, and they write these ransom notes and they misspell things all the time. Whereas people have a certain way of writing and the things they say. I started noticing that the things that person was saying were a lot of the same, almost exact same things that I was being sent as to why we shouldn't do this. And I was like, wait a minute. And I was just kind of being quiet about it. I was watching.
Yeah, and you know what the sad part about this is that when the defense team has taken the brunt of this. They've been the ones who've been affected by it. And since the judge told them to stand down a week or maybe longer than that before, and said they can't investigate anymore into this, right? And then they weren't allowed to, when they go back, they're not allowed to have defend themselves at all. They just got ambushed, and the judge ambushed them, and they can't even defend themselves. How can you have a hearing? And there wasn't a hearing, but she made a finding with no hearing. I don't understand that, but how can you do that when you don't allow them to defend themselves? Don't they get a say? What if they went in and had a lot of information like this that said Mark had a history of doing this, and he's talked about it and stuff that. That could have been something that completely changed it. It might not have ever happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this information was crucial, but it wasn't allowed to be investigated or part of that hearing that I was at, to where, Fran brought, basically what she did was she said, basically cease and desist. You can't investigate any further. Okay, we're going to have a hearing about what's been going on. So the defense and the prosecution are there now. The state was allowed to do a full investigation, come up with everything they had, have their entire team of law enforcement officers, and it's everybody who's everybody. You've got every single law enforcement officer, Doug Carter, Jerry Holman, all those guys. And they're all there. They're all a team to come against what they, present what they have. But the defense shows up, and they were not only not allowed to investigate, they weren't allowed to have anything to present. It was just like, it was very wrong. Listen, I'm about due process. It doesn't matter who you believe. If you believe Richard Allen's guilty or not, that was not due process. That was an ambush. That was absolutely wrong. And if you all want justice for Libby and Abby, and for yourselves, and for your loved ones, and for anybody in the future, you want due process. That's the bottom line. Due process, or we're all screwed.
And you want the defendant to be you want him to have the best attorneys he possibly can. And these guys, they were fighting for him like it's incredible. They really believe that the guy's innocent, and they were that's his best opportunity, and it's and she's trying to get rid of that. I don't understand.
Oh,
and that's part.
I don't know if she's being manipulated either. There's something about the whole thing when it comes to the judge that I'm not sure. When you have this investigative team that's investigating the same people who are calling them liars and saying that they purposely lied to a judge, which could cost them their careers and should cost them their careers, then I don't think that's the right set of people that are supposed to be investigating those very people. Like, how does that make any sense?
It's not. And you got an affidavit from one guy, and that's just a slam dunk.
Well, the affidavit from Mitch doesn't say when he took the photos, doesn't say who he sent them to, doesn't say when he sent them out. It's very generic in itself. And if the defense team was behind it, then by all means, I'm not here to defend the defense team or to the prosecutor. I'm here to get to the damn truth of the thing. And wherever the chips may fall, they may fall. That's why it doesn't matter. Because if Mark Robert is the thinker, why do I care to protect Mark Robert?
Right.
Well, I want to bring something up. So in these messages, so I was sent a series, 2 separate days of messages. As soon as you guys are I've never really done like a live where I had to do StreamYard and all that stuff. So that would be new to me. So like I said, I apologize to people that if people were waiting and I said it was delayed. But we took that at face value. Okay. We're not okay. You're hurting and your daughter's sick. I'm sorry. We will oblige you. But in that whole series of text messages, there were things in there that were said. And one of the things that was said to me was that I don't somehow like Mark Cohen wasn't allowed maybe to talk to Fortson or something. And Robert Fortson called him the night that he committed suicide. And Mark didn't answer the call. Maybe, I don't know what was said, that like they weren't allowed to talk to each other or something. And he felt bad about the fact that he didn't answer the call. So there was definitely some kind of communication that was going on there. There was something, some kind of relationship that was going on there. At least that's what this person was indicating to me. It was kind of trying to explain some things that had happened.
Yeah.
Those text messages, there's a lot of things in that those text messages. And so hopefully you guys will understand that that's kind of why we didn't do it. Because we were like, wait, what?
Well, we really believe that, it's a child's involved, a sick child. And that was the obvious thing to do for me. I thought it was the right thing to do, that we don't do the show. That's what they were requesting. Again, this isn't a hit piece. We're trying to find the truth, and that's why I'm allowing his words to be shown. It's his way. It's 100% his words, and so and you can take from it what you want, but and again, this doesn't have anything to do with whether you're on the prosecution side or the defense side. This has to do with doing what's fair and just, and like we said at the beginning, hardly anybody believes the current narrative. Okay, I'm just trying to provide a little context from the past that may clear that up for you.
So Skip, I want to read this. Precision overload, said Julie Melvin. That's correct. Mark felt terrible that Fortson called him right before he took his life. He was not allowed to respond to Fortson in text in any way. And that's the message that I was sent as well. And that's
I think I have that screenshot. I can see if I can find it really quick, but it does show that Robert Fortson was trying to get a hold of Mark, like desperately, like, man, hey, please answer the phone. And Mark was not answering.
And I want you guys to think about this, okay? So if you're trying to get a hold of someone, and it deals with these photos. That's what it's about, because he was questioned. He didn't want to talk about it. If you're trying to get a hold of someone that previously has already been talking to people about having access to these photos, and you've received these photos, you're getting a hold of somebody that's already been deep into the thick of it. Hey, help me, I need help me dig out of this hole. That's how I see it. Help me dig out of this hole. Like it's somebody that was already deep into it, and they were looking to Mark to say, hey, I need help. Look what's going on. I can't deal with this. Show me that there's a way out other than, where I'm headed. And think deep about that.
The one that's up there now is not true. We believe we didn't question. We wouldn't have walked away and not done the show if we didn't think she was. If I thought it was a bullshit from the beginning, it would have been done Thursday. But
no, I
the benefit of the doubt.
Hey, I did tell you, Precision Overload, that no, we just decided not to. I know that, but I said we decided not to go. Now that was a private message with Skip talking to the Art of Deduction.
Yeah, all I said was,
and Skip was just saying, hey, we don't know if he's telling the truth or not. Like he might be, but still, actions speak louder than words. You can think about things, but what you do is you say, let's give the benefit of the doubt and just leave it alone. And, maybe we're thinking this, but, it's what you do. It's not always just what you say. It's like, we followed up on.
They asked us to lay it. We did. And they're still pissed. So, there's more to it than this. And they're sending threats and like blackmail stuff. It's like.
Somebody said, why did Robert leak the photos? Well, I can't answer. None of us can answer that. But why did anybody else leak the photos?
But Robert isn't here. He's not here to defend himself or to ask questions to. So my biggest question then is to anybody, or Mark, if you're listening, why did you send the photos out? Why were you talking to people for an entire year about photos that you shouldn't have had access to? And why all of a sudden is it now that Rick Snay made a post on YouTube? Does everybody get all up in their conscience and say, oh, we should probably do the right thing? But nobody gave a shit to do the right thing for over a year. And even if it is different photos, why didn't anybody care before? And so even if you want to say that Robert Fortson is the one who gave all of the photos for all of that time, and he gave them all to Mark, that doesn't make what Mark did okay.
Right.
I think people need to make sure that they understand this. This isn't just simply sharing something. Hey, I've got this. Don't show anyone. Hey, what do you think of this? It's beyond that. It's like, hey, we need to get a mass leak going. Like this is an orchestrated event. This isn't just sharing something like you share on, Messenger and it gets out to 25,000 people, whatever. It was not ever meant to leave, but there's just a bunch of big mouths in a Messenger group, whatever. It's kind of like what my sister and I were in with my sister with those photos at the gymnasium, and this was like an orchestrated, planned leak. So that's what's different than just talking about it and then it goes like wildfire. Telephone.
Three leakers don't just happen randomly. They seek out. So and it becomes
when there's a purpose behind it, then you have to question what's the purpose. Why is somebody trying to slowly leak us, the public, information? And for me, my only assumption can be that they're trying to spin a narrative that I'm supposed to buy. And then I want to see the truth. I don't want to buy the narrative.
Right.
Yeah, can I ask Precision Overload? She said that Mark received the photos on October 3rd of 2023. Then what exactly was he talking about when he was talking to Skip back in September of 2022?
And that's my whole thing to that point was, why did all of a sudden was there like a crisis of conscience with this leak, but nobody cared anything about the other ones?
136-page memorandum. That's what it was. The 136-page memorandum that was causing the state to lose, and the state was going to lose. Didn't matter who was guilty or not. The defense already had a reasonable doubt, and this was meant to happen. That's how I look at it.
It's like I said, you're going to see a lot of talk about leaks. You're not going to see any about going to the police or feeling uncomfortable.
No, because I don't think that he even cared. He wasn't going to the police until Murder Sheet was like, hey, we've got to do something about this. And now Rick Snay's posting about it on YouTube.
ACV gave you $19.99. Said this was.
I'm missing all my super chats. I apologize.
This was an orchestrated planned leak. Orchestrated by whom? And was Mark on someone's payroll? That person right there. Good.
And thank you for the super chat. But yes, that's exactly what I think. And I'm sorry, but you cannot convince me that there's a GoFundMe that's put up on the exact same day that the memorandum comes out. I don't buy that either. I don't buy that somebody's just dropping $2,000 and $500 and all of this stuff. You're being paid for something.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got good friends, and I'm telling you, that you're being paid for something.
We're the worst. We're the worst guy.
If you pay somebody, even if you remove some money or whatever, that all is accounted for. You can figure that out. But if you just like do a donation, it's easy. It's like, it's like the foundation, it's a donation to a foundation, to a GoFundMe, doesn't matter. So there's no way to say, okay, maybe somebody did purposely give this money so the person could go somewhere, but it's like, there's no way to tell one way or the other. And it just looks very suspicious. You got the Jason Blair, that's the journalist from New York City that, perjured himself, and he got into this whole thing. He's good friends with Murder Sheet. They all talk. He's promoted their channel. He's donating what did he donate? How much money did he donate? $200, whatever. Fortson donates $500. You get an anonymous donation of $2,000. It was just kind of like it just looks suspicious. Whether it was legit,
at a minimum, it looks
and it's all these people that are hooked together here.
I saw Copfax made a comment. Hey Perry, how's it going, man? Perry's a good guy.
Yeah, I know. I was thankful that he stopped by. I don't know how many more we even have, but let me go through and just make sure, because I know that we got kind of sidetracked with all of that. But to bring it back full circle, I think we already did this one, so let me go to the next one.
What number are we on?
This is 17.
Oh, it is. Okay, I think that might be the last one.
And I think that this is an important one because he's actually saying, I think for now, we are not going to leak anything. I've mulled it over for I just don't think it's the right time. Not that it's the right thing to do, but it's just not the right time for the we, quote unquote, to leak anything. You say, I hear you, no problem. I'm not sure what I have to do with leaking anything, but if you want me to look at or verify it, just let me know.
That was my attitude the whole time. I was kind of like, I don't understand really what do I have to do with. I mean, he's talked about this leaking and all this kind of stuff and fuzz, and I'm like, what do you think my role is? I'm not, and we weren't too long after that until the communication stopped. So, I'm not trying to. I'm not saying I should, I'm just saying I would think most people wouldn't be real comfortable with that, right?
Can I just say that I have Apophis? I saw this just shortly. We're overlooking that both Liggett and Holman both perjured themselves. This is now lost in the shuffle.
Right. Well, ironic, isn't it?
It is ironic. Yeah.
See, and precision overload, this is my problem. If you keep trying to put things back onto Fortson, but Fortson getting declined to make a post doesn't automatically go, Mark, you have to make it. Mark's like, okay, I guess I'll be the one to do it. Like, Mark is a grown-ass man and makes his own decisions, and when he posts stuff or when he sends things like this comment where he's saying, I'm not going to send you any more pictures because I think for now we're not going to leak anything. And here's Skip going, I don't know what I have to do with it. And it's, if you don't read that is simply him saying we're not going to send you pictures because we don't want it out there yet. The timing isn't right.
Yeah. And that's why I asked him, I'm not sure, what do you think what do you think I'm to have to do with the, leaking? Yeah. The whole phrase to me is weird. It's like, who leaking? I mean, where did that come up in this? Because if you go in and take photos from someone's their private, that's stealing, right? If that person goes and gives it to someone else, that's sharing.
Photos from someone and stealing.
That's sharing.
I've heard
that's
that
sharing,
before.
right? Yeah, and so that person sends it to 57 people. That's leaking.
Right. Well, to me, it seems like we were only going to send you things that we were okay getting out there, and now we're not going to send you those things because we're not ready for the leak. It's not the right time.
Yeah, he was always talking about kind of, hey, this got to be the right time, maximize, look, you talked about be planned. Yeah, I mean, that just shows you right there. It all is, it's not just some random, hey, let's put some pictures out to the media, some photos.
Hey, Skip, I think it's really important for you to mention one way or the other. Okay. I think it's important because, people are talking about there's all these other photos that were out there. They might have been closed in the creek. They might have been like just the F tree. There might have been some other, random things. Is it your understanding that not only were those other things there, but he also had the graphic photos, which would be of the girls, right?
Yeah.
Well, in 2022, correct?
Correct. At the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, he never actually said, hey, but he did mention that the putting the clothes on the girls and, but again, that was out there. So I didn't know if he was telling me something that was coming from his inside sort of whatever, so. Or if I knew if he was just reading it off somebody else in Discord somewhere,
That deserves being read right there.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Oh, the unraveling one. I know. I thought so too. Yeah, sending a trusted person a photo is not leaking. We're forgetting that this leak wasn't happening as quickly as Ellie wanted, so they had RLD message Snay and instigate and provoke him to go public. That's exactly what I think happened. I think that I think originally the pictures were sent to Rick Snay because people assumed that he was going to put them all out and that he would be the one that would do it. Like, oh, let's send them to Rick Snay. He'll put them out. He'll leak it for us. And then anybody who has a problem, they can go to him. Because how did the murder sheet or Rebecca Lynn Dunaway, how did anybody know to message Rick Snay and say, hey, we hear you have the photos? Or murder sheet saying, be careful because there's a leak happening, there's a leak of photos out there. And then why don't they tell him? He says he talked to them on Thursday night. They say they went to law enforcement Thursday morning. Why don't they tell him they already went to law enforcement?
Oh, this Carol said, Julie Melvin, did you send to yourself as he suggested may have happened? Oh my God. That is like the most, that is so ridiculous. Like I don't watch his channel because so I was working, somebody told me that Anthony Greeno was on there. And by the way, with Anthony, I'll just kind of tell you the backstory there. He'd been having a real hard time out in Seattle. And of course, I've just tried to give him, at least just moral support. And so I got this phone call and he was going to call the police on Murder Sheet and Rick Snay. And I said, don't do that. Just mind your own business. It's okay. It's taken care. Because he's like, oh, this is going to ruin the case. They're going to like share it out to everybody. Yada, yada. I said, no. And then he said that he had the photos. He goes, I've had them for a long time. I said, so you see, it's not, they're not that, it's not going to ruin the whole thing. I promise you, it's not. How do you know? I said, because he told me. I said, you know what? I've seen him. It's fine. He's already told me they're not going to be shared. It's already done. It's taken care of. So leave it alone. That was my whole goal, was to kind of bring him down. Didn't think anything of it. Thought nothing of it. And then the next thing I know, Rick's duking it out with Anthony Greeno on his live. And I'm like, why would you let somebody come on and question you? So I didn't know anything about it. All I knew was later I found out Anthony was going to do a gotcha moment on Rick Snay. And he's like, I'm going to catch him in a lie. I guess he told somebody this. He told one of his buddies this, that later told me that. And so he says, like, did you show Julie Melvin the photos? And you guys all know what he said. Like, he looked in the camera and said, no, I don't know. I didn't watch the thing. I saw a little excerpt of that. And then I'm like, oh my God, Anthony, what are you opening up a can of worms? So from that, it went from, it went from one lie to another lie to another lie to another lie to, it's grown into this huge story now.
What version is that?
And, even Rick had messaged me. He's like, what do you know about, airdrop? And I'm like, airdrop? He said, there's a rumor going around that you shared those to yourself on airdrop. I'm like, what? I'm like, I was sitting right there. I'll just tell you, Rick had reached out to me because, one thing, he called me a pig-faced whore one time. Okay. And I told him, you can call me a pig-faced whore, but don't call me a liar. And so he had apologized to me, and then we kind of got this mutual relationship and had been talking, and I saw that he had the photos he had mentioned, and that was all going around. So I said, you care if I see him? I need to put closure to this, and I want to be able to kind of reconcile some things that I know. And so, he agreed to that. And I didn't have any plans to talk about this, you guys. This was going to be never, ever told. But my God, he's had multiple videos that everybody's been sending to me. I'm like, don't send this to me. I don't want, and no. And so so we ended up, like, he met with me out at this place in Plainfield, and I met his wife, and I was being, I wanted to get to know her. So I was being very cordial, and they sat on, we were sitting in a little booth, and they sat there. I sat on the other side, and, he handed me his phone, and I'm very respectful. So I'm like, may I touch the screen so I can zoom in, just kind of looking. And that was it. I never got up from my chair at all. I had to go to the bathroom. I never even went. After we had, we had dinner, I said, goodbye. And I left and went home. But now I'm hearing that, like, I might have airdropped them to myself, something crazy like that. I'm like, he even asked me that. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, okay, first of all, I would never do that. That's your personal property. you didn't say I could have him. How you? I'm not a thief. And then I said that would encompass like you have to go into somebody's phone. You have to go into general. You have to go into settings. You have to go into general, whatever, and go into AirDrop and set it up for everyone. Then you have to go in and you have to go to share, and the person has to accept all this. I'm like, are you kidding? Like, where would this be coming from? And so what I guessed is that he wanted to have a reason to say maybe he was caught in his lie and he was trying to backpedal it. And all he had to do really is, not have Anthony on, but if that question, he could have just said, I'm not going to answer that. But unfortunately, here we are now. And it's ridiculous. So if there's anybody out there that believes what he said, I'll talk more about it, but I think that's enough right now.
So that you're saying
essentially,
they were received another way.
What's that?
So you're saying you received them another way?
Yeah, I received them. I received them via email. He sent them to me in an email.
Hey, there it is.
It's not a big deal. I don't know why it's not a big deal. We met, he showed them to me, and then later sent them to me in email. I don't know why this is such a complicated, crazy thing. It's taken the focus off the girls. We are messing with nonsensical things that like over and over and over and over. Well, maybe she airdropped them. Maybe she stole them. Maybe I went to the bathroom and took his phone. I mean, like, this stuff is so ridiculous. I don't do crazy. And that's why I'm on here tonight. And then I'm going to go back behind the scenes again because this stuff is, I can't do it. Like, I'll go back and do my private investigation on the side, but I'm not getting into all this bull crap that's taken the focus off of Libby and Abby and is shaming the entire case. So that's my say for this evening.
That was a very brave thing to say, Julie. I have to admit, considering the situation, that's a very brave thing. But it's the truth, So,
who brought up airdropping? Where did that come from?
I don't know, but I got a text message from him, and he said, "Hey, there's a rumor going around that maybe you airdropped them to me," because I think it's because he said, "No, I didn't show them to her or share them with her." So they're like, "Oh my gosh, you didn't share them? Well, how did she get them?" Well, maybe she aired. I think somebody put that in his head, and then he kind of went with it instead of saying, "Nah, I emailed him to her," And it's like, dude, why would you say that? Why are you going around and saying that? That's so ridiculous.
It's stupid.
It doesn't make any sense. Anybody with half a brain, and I get it. It's giving him subscribers, it's getting him views, it's getting money, and unfortunately, that's the other side of this case. It's about the entertainment part of it, and not about the real part of it. Getting to the bottom of it. Let's get due process. Let's get some good attorneys on this case, and let's bring justice to these girls. But unfortunately, it's all this crazy distraction, and it's like an obsessive, diabolical, crazy, down Twilight Zone stuff. I just can't do that. I'm done with that. Like, I've never seen this amount of crazy in my entire life, and I don't care to ever see it again.
Nice job. Proud of you.
I mean, that's just the honest to God's truth. It's crazy. I can't do it. It's like, don't take me. I can't even imagine living that way. I mean, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest has nothing on this stuff.
Yeah. Nice job. Hey, look, you have it straightened out now. Everybody knows what happened. You were emailed the photos, and it wasn't an airdrop. It wasn't a whatever the others were.
I have. Oh, by the way,
you didn't take the phone into the bathroom.
I did give Teresa just kind of like the blip of, because I thought, Teresa, you're having this on. You need the receipts, so we're telling the truth because you don't really know me that well. Just so you know, could you just speak to your audience?
Yeah, I will tell you right now, Julie did not send me the photos. She sent me the screenshot of the email and what the contents of it was, with the top part where you could see the sticks and stuff. That's it. She did not send me any photos. She did not send them out. So I see it's so tough because, and I've talked about this a lot, like the crime scene photos that's not looking at them isn't as bad as if I would not want my own kids or crime scene photos or autopsy photos out there. So like I have this weird imbalance of how I feel about them, because I know that the family, to respect the family, they wouldn't want them out there. Seeing them doesn't make me go, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is, so. But no, Julie did not send them to me. Just the top part of the email where it was sent from him. That's it. And so she wanted to see the pictures. I mean, I don't. She's covered she's followed the case for 7 years.
I'll tell you what. It was very clear. It did change. I mean, I don't wish for anybody to see. I mean, Abby actually, she looks like she was sleeping, but it changed my whole perspective as to, wow, the focus was clearly no, I can't. It did change what I thought a little bit about the case, because I wasn't sure, and now it was very clear. It was very clear, and it actually kind of made me go back to the very beginning of the case, and that's kind of why I wanted to see, wait a minute, is this really what I'm thinking? Is this what? And when I saw that, I realized that go back to the beginning, and it's all the stuff that I had thought from the beginning. Like I had been thinking this, and
did we just lose Julie?
I think we may have lost Julie.
We did. She dropped off. Julie, if you hear us, come back.
But yeah, the photos are.
She went and met him, and she saw the photos, and then she was sent the photos. I think that's the bottom line of it.
It's really not a big deal. I don't know why it turned into a. I mean, it's not like that. It's not like it's trying to find the who sent them to the 57 people. This is 2 people. I mean, what? It's insignificant for the most part. Why? I mean, why is everybody worried about that? It's like, and why would that be? Why would you want to lie? I mean, why would you have to lie about that? It's stupid. I mean,
this stuff is so silly. I mean, it really is silly. It's like, oh my God, this is wasting so much time and energy.
I couldn't say this any better, Yellow Jacket. I so appreciate you guys over at the Unraveling. Even though I'm not as far to the Richard Allen is innocent side as I know you guys are, but I love your content. Just the way that you guys are putting it out there and just saying like, this is what we know and this is how we see it. But this couldn't have been said better by anyone. Yeah, it's absurd. The only thing that matters is how it's been weaponized to interfere with the case proceeding. Rick Snay sending them to Julie was not done to interfere with anything. And I think that gets lost in all of this because everybody wants to know who ended up with the photos, and how they got there. But it's the beginning and how and why it is, like she said, being weaponized to interfere with the case. And who's behind
that sent them out? He's not the only one that sent them out. I mean, a lot of other people sent them out as well. He just was the only one out there talking about it. Okay, I think maybe Gray Hughes was too. But they went out to a lot of people, including on Patreon. I've heard that.
How did that turn into such a big deal? I mean, people are going like berserk over there. It's like one person gave it to one other person. Why is people spending weeks talking about it, trying to figure out how this was ascertained? I mean, it's the stupidest shit I've ever seen.
It is. It's like, whoop.
Right. I think there's a couple of good points here.
There's
the way that they. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying there's more important things than worrying about, and who lied, who didn't lie, how it was done, blame this, deflect here. It's unreal. It's unreal.
Mm-hmm.
So like Laundry and Amber saying, like, so the whole point of it is that these things have been out there. I want to clarify, in no way, shape, or form do I have proof, or if they do, they have not sent it to me, but I don't think they do, that these particular crime scene photos are the same ones that have been out there for over a year. What I'm saying is there are crime scene photos that have been out there for over a year. Is it the exact same ones? I cannot say that. You have to
With-
determine that for yourself by your own
Here's
own
the
thought
thing.
or information.
Here's the thing. You're seeing someone in their own words claim they have crime scene photos with the intent of leaking. I mean, what? I mean, that seems pretty significant, right?
Right.
Like he said, like the first leak is what matters. Exactly. That's what you need to know why. But here's the thing: there was a point to the leak. It's not like, okay, you guys have to really think about this. It's not like, hey, yeah, I got these photos. You want to see them? Okay, let's send them. Da, 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 da. There was a timely, orchestrated leak. I think people need to understand that because, okay, I'll say this. My sister, of women on a messenger group early on. We were talking to a couple people, and we were told that we thought maybe the person that did this was local. So my sister went to the gymnasium, went to the viewing, and she was sitting on the bleachers, and she was trying to be very respectful to take pictures of people in the crowd, specifically men, their clothes, their boots, and stuff like that. I think this was even before they might have had. Did they have the guy out there? I don't know. Yeah, maybe they had the guy out there, the picture of the guy. So, that's where she was taking pictures. There was a picture from a very, long distance, and it was with Libby in the background, but you could see all these people standing right up there, in her casket, whatever. There's all these things. And my sister was being totally respectful. There was just one photo out of I think there was 7 or 8 photos. But you think that this is over time, somebody must have just started sharing them. Of course, I get blamed, okay, whatever. I'll get blamed for everything because I'm a good person to blame for. But it over time.
But he says that he doesn't think that Rick Snay said he doesn't think that you sent out everything, though. Just to make sure that that's clear, he didn't say that he thinks that you were sending out the pictures to a bunch of people.
No, my point is about the leaks, about these photo leaks, is that
okay.
I just want you to think about over time as things leak, it's kind of slowly out there, whereas these photo leaks were boom. Okay, it indicates, psychologically speaking or whatever, and cop facts could talk to this, whatever, that this was an orchestrated timing thing. That's all I'm saying is think about it, because over time it takes a little while, and people, I heard that, they pass things around. This was a mass boom. It was meant for a reason. That's my opinion.
Well, leaking crime scene photos or any kind of evidence is done for a reason. You're either trying to harm or help, one of the two, right? And we know who got harmed in this circumstance. So, that you have to take that into consideration. And not only was there harm, we're talking major harm done to Richard Allen in losing those attorneys, or at least for potentially now or whatever. But
hey, Mary Goff wants you to discuss the tripod. She says, "Why is nobody discussing this? This is a big deal."
I don't know. So the knife, a picture of a knife that was out there, a picture of tripods, a picture of a shoe print.
Yeah. I'd like to see
Precision's saying there was no gag order before there was a defense. And in no way, shape, or form am I trying to imply that there was a gag order. But that doesn't make it okay to create an orchestrated leak of information. And I've said the same thing, and I know that you haven't been here before, so you probably haven't heard it. But I've said the same thing when it came to the Barbara McDonald stuff. How in the world is she going out and saying, hey, yeah, I've had these drawings of these sticks and so on and so forth, for such a long time? That's an orchestrated leak. It's the same concept to me, because there's a reason that law enforcement is telling the general public, oh, wait, we're not going to tell you guys anything because we're trying to keep it close to the vest. But they're going out and telling media or random ass people to go out and put this information out into the public, or to even have it. Those people aren't going to be able to do anything with it. They can't solve a crime. So what's the difference between those types of people having it and just telling the general public, we're going to release some more information? Why a slow leak? And so you're proving my point when you say there was no gag order or protective order before the defense was hired. That's the whole point. Why does law enforcement need a slow leak of photos out there? And you're saying photos are from searchers. The only photos that were from searchers are the ones of the clothes. If you can show me proof that the other photos that Mark is discussing, when it comes to the knife, when it comes to the tripod, when it comes to the shoe print, or when it comes to the actual crime scene or the F tree, you show me that those were from searchers instead of from law enforcement. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I think that's when I think that was kind of the suggestion. I think there's been a lot of that. I think those photos, kind of like they were taken off of a conference room table, but then why is there a cursor in one of them? It's there's just a lot of things that don't make sense about it, and I don't think we're hearing the right story.
Right.
Why, I don't know. That's the thing. We know there was a leak, been multiple leaks. We know the reasons for them. But we don't know why exactly they happen. And only the people who did the leaking know.
Hey, Skip, somebody asked about, like, Ivy Rose said, when was it that Mark switched from the F tree being carved to being like in blood? Or did he say like,
oh, that's a great question.
Smear? Yeah.
Yeah, he changed it. The only thing he really changed from was carved to, he changed it from tree carving to marking. I don't even know if it makes it any different.
Marking. Okay.
Potential. Yeah.
Got it.
If you say there are leaked photos in 2022, which photos? I just told you which photos. And then you're asking, does Skip have access to those photos? But all you're doing in turn there is proving that Mark's a liar and that he uses people and manipulates them. So you're not going to win that argument either way. Either Mark really had photos, which he shouldn't have had, or Mark is a liar and a manipulator and tries to get information from other people. So which one is it, Precision Overload? Since you know him well, which one is it?
We're trying to show you that what you're hearing and seeing from the days may not be reality, and based on past and based on history, it doesn't appear. I mean, again,
can you untime him out, Noe? By the way, Noe's at venue freeze. He said he'd behave if you would untime him out. He sent me a message.
Can you untime him out?
Can you untime?
I don't know. I'm not in YouTube, so I can't do it from StreamYard. I can't even tell who is timed out and who isn't.
Untime venue 3. It's Noe. He said he'd behave.
My point again is I know I keep harping on this, but there's a lot of talking about possessing photos, crime scene photos, and leaking. There's no talk of being uncomfortable with that, and let's get these to the cops because, it's not right us having them. Okay, now that's the narrative here currently. So it just depends on how much you believe that. Is that what happened? I'm just saying, yeah.
In general, because I'm like, I don't have an answer.
Oh, do you think that likely happened?
From seeing these crime scene photos, my takeaway is that, I saw the little hand cursor above Abby's head, so you could tell it's from a computer. From Libby, it looks like it was taken from further analysis potentially. Now, I'm not like an expert on this, but possibly Android device, and it doesn't look. They look so different. One looks like it's one photo looks like it was like in real time. Like, if I took a photo of somebody and I shared it, it looks like regular. Whereas, Libby, it doesn't look right. And I started looking further. There's absolutely watermarks that are on that photo. There are watermarks that are evenly spaced. There's a black line. There's writing. Okay. And they are evenly spaced. I actually went through and I took a ruler and I blew it up and I evenly spaced. So, and I can't see all the letters and they're different in sections. It almost looks like it almost looked like maybe I don't know if it's law enforcement, whatever, or the letters were flipped, but I could make out some of the letters on on her. Like then it went all the way across, and it was all the way across, and it was boom, 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 boom. And that's the only photo that I saw watermarks on. So someone is already claiming this photo as their original that's being sent out. That's like there's a claim on this photo. I'm just telling you, 100%. There's a claim on this photo.
Strange.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's very strange.
Okay. And we don't. None of us really believe the current narrative, so it's not like it's shocker or anything. So.
The photos leaked aren't the real crime scene photos, period. If that was the case, they would track the metadata, arrest the person trying to harm and hinder an ongoing investigation, and a huge federal offense. Well, I mean, who's doing the investigating, Boomer? I think that's kind of the biggest thing, and this is what I keep asking on most of my lives, is who's actually, people keep saying this is still being investigated. Well, one, by who? Because if law enforcement or anybody on the prosecution's side is the one leaking it, and now they're doing the investigating, where does that leave anybody? Because I don't disagree with you. I just don't know if that's even where's left.
I don't disagree with you either. Yeah, you would have to know that the investigation was perfect. Went according to plan and was done exactly up to speed, up to protocol.
Okay. Hey, factual opinion, precision overload, whatever. She's talking. Okay. I just want to say this. Can somebody explain to me why an individual who is a decorated soldier, who has a daughter, just because they receive photos and share them with someone, that is a reason that you feel like you have no way out of this world but to end your life? There's something very wrong here. And I don't know if the audience thinks that there's something very wrong here, but I feel like there's something very wrong here. There's more to it than what we know.
I don't know. Yeah, there's either more to that story that pushed him to that point. But here's the thing: it's like I don't think no matter how many people sit around and try to figure out what his mindset was, it's the mindset of somebody who's in that place. I don't know if we'd ever be able to get there. And do I think that it just had to do with some photos and him being looked at? I don't. But I don't know if we'll ever be able to say like this is why, because people make those decisions and we always go, there's no way. Why would that person do it? It's just too much.
Yeah. The one thing I will say about it is the comment when he's trying to get in touch with Mark, he said the desperation is pretty obvious.
Let me see if there's any other questions. Do you guys have any other questions for them before we keep going, or we wrap it up? Either way, I mean, I just want to make sure that anybody who knows anything is. Do we know that he did? I believe that he did. I believe that he. I mean, according to the post that people were commenting, I didn't know how until those emails came out between Leyland and the judge and the defense attorneys, but. Most of the posts from friends and family were insinuating they just couldn't believe that he would have done that.
Yeah.
So that's the assumption that that's what happened, at least.
Wait.
I know.
Can you
corner,
repeat that, please, Teresa? Are you talking about Robert Fortson?
Yes.
And you said the post.
Like, do we know that he really committed suicide? And I'm like, from what I can tell from the outside world, obviously I'm not an investigator and I'm not the coroner to be able to, or the medical examiner to say what he did. But from the conversations with loved ones around that, his Facebook account and such, they're saying that they can't believe he did that.
It just looks odd. It's like, oh, Mitch Westerman, you haven't been on the defense team for a while. You show up at the height of this thing. You go, you give him the Robert Fortson. There's exchange. You know something, and you're friends with Mark Cohen. Okay, and then all of a sudden they come and investigate. You're not going to talk, and you're going to commit suicide. You're going to offer, like, there's something. I'm just telling you, there is something not making sense here.
No, I don't think any of us believe it totally makes sense. I mean, from the way they were confiscated, or the way they were taken, to the way they were given up, doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't make Doesn't make sense. And how did they end up in the hands of someone? I mean, why would the defense team allow that to end up in the hands of someone who believes RA is Richard Allen is guilty? I don't get that. I mean, again, like I said, it's either to harm or hurt. There's a reason for it, even if they were leaking them. None of it makes any sense. But the one thing we know for sure, undeniable, is we've got somebody who has talked about crime scene photos with the intent of leaking them for over a year, and that's exactly what happened. That's one thing. That's inarguable. That's how it all, which crime scene photos they are, and it's not always easy to show intent. It's pretty obvious here.
I'm just reading through the comments, making sure that we catch anything that anybody else has a question about.
Somebody asked if Abby had horn-looking antlers. Well, I will tell you this. It's interesting. And I love Captain Howdy. And I know you had put out a video because I missed him. We hadn't seen him for a while. He's a great person. Here's what I will say. At first look, it's like, oh, they're kind of small little twigs, But when you look, they're crossed. They're crossed like this. You can very, very much see that they're crossed. And the way that they're just not twigs, just that happen to be where she was laying, and it just happened to be in a cross section formation. It's because the tip of the twig went on top of, she had that little ponytail that went on top of her hair over to the other side. They were purposely laid there. So you can call it what you want. They were purposely laid at the top of her head, and they went over the top of her hair. It had to have happened after she was already placed there.
Yeah, I didn't really gain that much from the crime scenes. As far as I eliminated some stuff was what it did for me. Any rumor that whatever's put on top, the sticks put on top, was to conceal, that was not what it was. When you say that's not meant to conceal anything. And the blood on the tree is not splatter. Splatter would have been it wouldn't have been nearly as focused in one area. It would have been all over the place. But other than that, I didn't come away with many takeaways in terms of absolutes. So, but I see where people can get where they, the beliefs they do, for sure.
I think Jeffrey Scott Burke said Elvis Field said he gave Abby those horns. I mean, it's weird because you got these people actually admitting to this crime, telling you how they left it, and even saying, hey, I've been told he's got a mentality of a 6-year-old, and he's like, hey, if you find spit on, I'm good, right? I'm good. And, a lot of people will, I just want to talk about this just for a quick second. I know the whole Odin theory seems so ridiculous because in a normal person's mind, Odinism, it is ridiculous. Like, that's not mainstream America, Christian people or whatever. Like, that's not something we even think about. And most people have never even heard of it until this case. So right there, it's already so far outside the spectrum of what we even know is normal. And then you got the defense presenting this, and they're like, they're just trying to kind of find it out. Well, yeah, okay, they have a job to do that. But a majority of the information that they have, it came from the it came from the state. It's the stuff that they had that they either investigated, ignored, or you actually had people making statements and turning in their own relative that had made a statement about it, and they were all connected. So, I know that the whole thing, like, do I personally think that this was a ritualistic killing? No, I mean, but I do believe that, like, I've seen the sticks. I am telling you, these sticks were not thrown on the girls. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Anybody with half a brain can see that these sticks were purposely placed on these girls in a pattern that was significant to to whomever did this. It was significant. They were placed in a pattern exactly that was significant to them. And I don't know, I'm not familiar with runes. I never even what? I didn't really understand these stick runes, and people have these weird obsessions with them. It's kind of bizarre to me. I mean, I probably would have shown up to the crime scene and said, what did people look at? This is kind of weird. These sticks on them. I would have said, wait a minute, maybe they mean something. I would have had no clue. And I would have, in my mind, want to have written it off that's kind of like your first instinct. But when you see them, they were laid, and you could tell they were laid in a pattern, because the way that they were laid on Libby, there was a crisscross pattern where, it was V, and then one was underneath. Like, they were laid purposely. It wasn't like we're just going to throw them on there and they're going to land this way. You could see that, like, one of the limbs went under, like it was woven under, like it had to be purposely placed. And it was actually placed, if I was going to guess, and I'm going to be like cop facts, and I'm going to be at the, crime scene and looking at this, I would say that, okay, I was trying to determine myself which one was placed first. Okay, it had to be this one, it had to be one over here. And then if you look over the top, how it's put, it's not in the logical pattern you'd think, because the way it's woven under, it's very purposeful. Like, that even tells you more that it's very purposeful, even though it doesn't mean probably anything to 99.9% of the population. There was something that was done that was meaningful to the killer.
You know what's funny is I hear, I'm not nearly as well versed on the Odin stuff as Julie. I don't really know much about it at all, but I did look at the case for a while with someone who really looked hard at that, because we had some information. Some of the information she had, a lot of the information she had was right. The Odin theory and the Holder thing and all that, almost everybody who looked into this case went down that rabbit hole, and now they're acting like, oh, it's the stupidest damn thing, including law enforcement went down. And so I mean, I don't know if that's what it is, but it's not stupid.
Yeah. I wanted to say something. Astrology worded letter. She gave you $4.99. She asked me, Julie, do you think, where were the girls there overnight? What about the culverts? Oh man, I've been told, I've heard that Jerry Holman thinks that these girls were, at least, well, I'll say this. I've been told that he thinks that that's where, they were murdered. Whether they were somewhere overnight or whatever, that remains to be seen, because, here I was told, that area was searched. Cody told my sister that area was searched that night. And when you see those photos, the photos were taken, by the way, during the day. It looked like, kind of daylight. So, it was definitely daylight, probably before a lot of people got there. And how could, okay, and that's another thing you have to think about. Some people from another state that don't know this area, they might get on Google Maps and they might be like, oh, wow, this is a vast area. If you think about it, there was a Snapchat photo. Everybody knew pretty much where they were. Okay. So that's where you start. The logical, crimes, or whatever, trying to search for somebody 101. You start to where you last saw them. Okay. We saw them here on Snapchat. They were here. So follow, and I've always said this to Kelly, follow the path of least resistance. The logical thing to do is you walk on the paths that are there. There's one path that goes off probably toward Liebert's house, but that's down the driveway and it's kind of over there. But there is a very worn path that's down the hill, and it goes across the driveway, and then it meanders over to the creek. So if I'm at that bridge, what I would do first is, if I'm like, where are the girls? The first place I would go to is I go underneath the bridge. Kay Weber and I, God bless her heart, she's an amazing woman. She and Paul, they took me around. They took me on their four-wheeler. They showed me the entire place. She gave me a lot of information. She talked about kind of things that she was thinking about and things that, FBI talked to her about. And she showed me So we went down below the bridge. She's like, yeah, sometimes the kids will come down here and they'll hang out, kind of like this is their place. She'd said that she had seen several times Abby and Libby come. So Abby lived just down the road. So she'd seen them come. They had a pattern, like they had a path that they would come. And she would show me, she'd go, they walk along this tree line. And she goes, a couple times I yelled at the girls, hey, what are you guys doing? Where are you going? Because, she knew they were going to the bridge, but that was her property. And it was like, after a while, people kind of get tired of people going on their property. So, she knew that area very well. Well, if you're standing on that bridge and people party under there, you go down the hill and just follow the path first. I don't understand. Okay, I know they say hindsight's whatever. 50.
Julie, when I met you in Delphi, what was the first thing we did? That path is so. What did I say when I saw that? I couldn't believe.
You're like, I would no way. You said there is no way they couldn't have been found that night.
There's no way.
How dark it is. I don't care how dark it is because
that's the first place you would look.
Well, here's the thing. There are. Okay, I know for sure. Okay, so we can say 4. Okay, there's paths. What you do is you don't walk in so much brush that you can't get through, and you're kind of going sideways and you're getting off. No, what you go on the path first. Let's walk on the path. So the path, trail split to the Freedom Bridge. That's one. Well, we know from the Snapchat photo that's not where they were. The other one is the 505 trail. Well, guess what? The 505 trail, you go down so far and it ends. But I would still, and I have done this, gone ahead and gone down into the brush, and you can see a little worn path. So that would be another one. Well, the most likely one is they were already across the bridge. They took the photo. So the next path at the south end of the bridge is right down the hill across the driveway. And it's a worn path right over. So even if you walk over there and you're standing there, and I could say that Brad German even said this, I just followed the path. Oops, sorry. I just followed the path, and my dog was barking, and he was wanting to get across, and he, I was told that I couldn't cross, that area had already been checked. Now, but mind you, I've been told, I've been corrected that this was the wee hours of the 14th. But even so, that area had already been checked. That's what he was told, that area, which is where the girls were found, had already been checked in the wee hours. I've been told by multiple people that area was checked at night. So, the lady that was asking, I've always just thought that they were there and they were missed. But I've heard all the stories about, the cabin. Why do we have all these threats about the cabin? Cody called my sister and said, hey, because my sister calls me right away. She's like, and I remember I was at work. And she's like, Julie, the girls are found. I'm like, are they okay? She's like, no, they're dead. And I said, what happened? Like, how could they not find them? Like, where were they the night before? And she says that Cody said that they were in a cabin, but then they were found down at the water, and Jake Johns was standing across the creek and saw some clothes in the creek. And one was half in and half out the creek, and the other one was halfway at the bank. And Cody said it looked like there were claw marks. All those things I will never, ever forget. Those were things that were told to me. So you were not allowed to ever talk about the cabin again. When Hannah Shakespeare interviewed for this, the Patty said, don't talk about Cody, Derek, and the cabin. Kay Weber had the FBI come to her, and she said she was trying to talk about Ron Logan's lights. Well, they didn't care about the lights that had gone off and on for 20 years, and they stopped for the first time since he's been in jail. These were bright lights that were coming into her house. She's like, not flashlights. She goes, and they were colored lights of all times. She said they stood on her deck, and the only thing they wanted to know is they looked over and they go, I want to know more about that cabin. Tell us more about that cabin. And then Kelly Brown got threatened and said, they were going to come and tweak her house and burn her house down if she talked about the cabin anymore. And then it was never talked about ever again. And so that's all I know. I don't know if it was just a fluke. I have no idea.
But they should. They should have been found. After I went and you took me down there, and it took less than 10 minutes to walk down from the trail to where the crime scene was. I was like, and we were just pair of sneakers and shorts or whatever. It wasn't like it was, it was easy. Just walk. And it doesn't. None of it makes any sense because there's four ways you can get to that spot, right? You can get there by the creek, Ron Logan's, the cemetery, or the path. The path's the easiest. The creek's the hardest. They say the first time that area was supposedly looked at or tried to be searched was for the creek. No, stop.
Can I just give you guys a number here? And it's going to be a guess. If you guys know anything about about acreage, and I might be off here, but I will tell you. Okay, let's just say that you have a bunch of ravines. You're not going to check the ravines because it's a ravine. You can't walk up and down, and the likelihood of somebody being, on a ravine is very rare. So the area you're going to check across the creek on both sides is going to be it's flat. And as you know, Skip, what do you think? There might be maybe 5 acres of flat land before it's all ravine.
Maybe.
It's not that hard to check. And it's not super heavily wooded. It's, there's random trees. I mean, like you can easily walk around down there without having brush get all over you. Like it's almost like it's been a very cleared area for, I was there and it happened. Like it's not like it's thick brush there. So it's like,
if you knew the girls were dropped off at the Mears lot, right?
Yeah.
And you knew they were going to the bridge, you would not miss that path. I mean, look, they can say there can be whatever they can say, whatever. Right? I'm just telling you. I can tell you this, and I can say it with certainty. If I would have been searching, I would have found them.
I think you need to put Kyle Davis's comment right up there on the screen and ask him about that.
Let me pull it up real quick. There's a lot of questions for you guys, so I was just trying to star some of them while you guys were chatting.
It says Kyle Davis. It's getting ready to go off.
Yeah, hold on, I'm trying to find it.
Judgmental made a good point. I forget exactly what it was, but it was something.
I think Kyle said earlier he grew up next to the Patties.
Can you elaborate on that?
You mean like what address?
Like about Kyle Davis living next to the Patties?
Yeah, like what's
the address?
Just curious.
I'm not asking him for his address.
She knows he lives at every address down the town.
So a couple of the questions I want to back up. So really quickly, while we're waiting to hear more from Kyle on that part. Somebody had asked earlier about Brandon Woodhouse's video, and if you were the one that struck it, Julie. Do you know anything about that?
One that what?
I'm not familiar with it, so I just figure I'll ask you if you know what that's about.
He was using like these audios or whatever. It's the same stuff that people were. It's those audios that were out there, the documentary things.
Oh, the lifetime audio.
I can't remember what I can't remember what the point it was. It was like, I don't know. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Okay, but not the one with the receipts where he was showing the conversation between him and Mark, right? That's a different one.
Whatever it was didn't have anything to do with anything other than the audios that I own.
Okay. Kyle says 3082 West 500 North.
Awesome. Good job.
Apparently he doesn't live there anymore, so I think it's going to be okay that it's out there.
Take that.
Kyle, were you a bus driver, or was somebody your bus driver?
Dang, now you're getting personal.
Was Becky your bus driver, Kyle?
No comment.
No, it might come. I think that's accurate.
Kyle says he's good at answering questions, so what would he just let him know what you want to know? So why I just want to get through a couple more of these questions, not to spend too much more time on the pictures, but people were asking about the sticks themselves. Does it remind you of? Have you ever watched the movie True Detective, or the TV show True Detective that was on? Yeah. It had Matthew McConaughey, Woody Harrelson. Would you consider what was left of the scene that?
I would consider it similar. Yeah, I mean it's. But I'm not like I said, I'm not very well versed. I wouldn't know. But it does look like it's something, There's not. It's not just to conceal bunch of stuff thrown on them. It's not. That's the way it kind of was portrayed in the beginning or rumored, and it's just not that at all. I'd say it's similar, but I'd have to get down technically and tell you the difference between, whichever, whether it's Odin and whatever other religion. I don't know that I couldn't tell you the difference.
The Norse paganism, the whole of it, yeah.
Somebody said that Woodhouse used the audio in his second one and it wasn't struck. Honest to God, I'm just getting tired of this. Like I said, this Mickey Mouse stuff, I'm just over it. Like, I started like, okay, wait, what are you doing? Because I just wouldn't want to be associated with them. I'm kind of like I said, I can't go 10 ways to crazy. I'm done. I'm over this whole thing. That's why I'm like, I'm on here and I'll just go back behind the scenes where it's much nicer and quieter.
A question came up a second ago about whether we like, what was it? The question was, do you guys like,
what do you think about Mark now?
Yeah. I'll be honest, when I met Mark, I liked Mark. And I tried to help him out, and I 100% stayed true to what I promised, that I wouldn't say a word about any of that. And I didn't tell even the people like in this case, the closest people. Julie never knew. I called her a month ago to tell her about it. He didn't treat me the same way. But that's okay. That's not what this is about. This isn't about trying to get somebody back or anything. That's been forgotten. But it's not that I dislike him. I want some people some people be honest? Is that nowadays? Is that just asking too damn much?
That's kind of the bottom line of my whole thing. Like, at this point, I just want to know, what did Mark have? Who told him to put stuff out? Who's in charge of this whole leak? Because that person's responsible. Not that Mark wouldn't be responsible for being a part of it, but that's where the whole thing comes in. Why is this? Who's in charge of the slow narrative that's going on? That's what I want to know the truth about. Is it Mark?
The more chaotic it is, the better.
A strongly worded letter is asked a couple times. Julie, do you think the girls were out there overnight? I think that you talked a little bit about that you do not think they were out there overnight, or you're surprised that they weren't found. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I'm more just surprised they weren't found. I mean, there is absolutely zero excuse for these girls not to be found that night in that location. Absolute. I do not. I'm going to tell you something. I mean, I know it's easy to say. I swear I would have found them. Because you start, okay. If you look at if you do, how you can do the measurements on Google Maps and stuff like that. It was like literally like 600 feet from where they were their last known location from that Snapchat photo. I mean, it's like 600 feet from where they were. Like and like I said, you go to the path of least resistance. And, even when I walked out there with my husband, okay, you always think about there's that bias because you know where they were. Well, what I did was I'm like, okay, let's see how many paths we can follow. There's this path, and then there's one here, and this one goes over to the water that goes actually straight. If you follow the path off to the right, but once you get there and you're facing Kay Weber's house, you can go down to the right. It's a lot harder. This down the hill, it's easy. You can see where all the kids would go down the hill. You just hang on to part of the little cement piling, whatever, and you work your way down and kind of grab a hold of it. There's a little tree, and then once you get down onto the driveway, you follow. If you follow, instead of going, the logical thing would be, okay, I just want to get if I want to get to the creek, I'd go off to the right, but that's a huge big drop, and you just follow this worn path. So I just followed it. Where's this going to take me? It took me right to the edge of the creek. I didn't veer off the path. So I just say, I will tell you, there is no reason that these, especially with the number of people that were out there, they had flashlights. They knew relatively, the proximity where the girls were. and actually from seeing this crime scene photos, there's no reason. Don't give me darkness. Don't try to tell me they were completely covered up with weaves. And they like, if the photos that we've seen are how they were left, this is it. There's no reason these girls shouldn't have been found.
I just sent Teresa. I just sent you two texted 2 photos when Julie and I were there. One is where you go off the trail to the path, and the other one is on the path. When you see it, you're just going to be like, "Oh my God!" It's just so obvious. But that's the funny thing about this case. It's like mistakes were made before there was even a known crime by law enforcement, and misinformation started getting floated immediately, right? And it was like, I mean, and misinformation is put out. It's kind of like leaking photos. It's done for a reason. It's meant to steer or to get push away or whatever. I mean, remember the whole Ivan Brumbaugh touched the girls and the whole thing.
No.
Why did somebody float that rumor? What were they trying to do?
Eric Alter, the whole thing there.
Yeah, I mean, what were they trying to do? Were they trying to just confuse? They were trying to point finger at somebody. I mean, that started from the very beginning.
People toying with people, yeah. The answer to that, snarky ass angel. Do I know if John Kyle Keener is related to Becky Patty? I don't know the answer to that, but I will tell you that it almost looked like that was on. That was one of the watermarks. Was his name? It looked like J, and then I couldn't see the K, but I saw EEN. I couldn't tell the rest of it.
Oh, really?
But it kind of looked like. And now here's the real curious thing. Okay, these photos that I saw. Okay, I will say, like I tried to tell you guys, the photo of Abby was like a normal photo, even at the top of just her hair of the sticks, and she just looked like she was sleeping. She had her clothes on. With Libby, it looked like the photo had been altered. And the more that I kind of played with it, there was a little contrast to it. I changed the contrast. I could see that I'm like, okay, now those look like real limbs. Otherwise, the big limb that was on her arm, like in the leaves around her, they almost look like they were so lightened that they almost look like they had been sketched and stuff. You have one of those apps that turn the photo to sketch. Kind of looked like that, and she was definitely very, very pale. But there was a purpose for that photo, and plus her upper part was blacked. It was like a rectangular blacked out, and then the privates had a round thing blacked out. But I think there was a purpose for that. The reason the photo was lightened up was to the naked eye, unless you really zoom and like you have to very detailed, just to look at it. You don't necessarily notice the watermark. Then you start to look and you look a little closer, and it's very obvious. Like, I know I'm not seeing things. It's very obvious because you can actually start to make out some of the letters on the thing, and they don't all say the same. And one, it looked like was almost saying, like, I want to say precinct, but it was like NCT or whatever, something like that. That was at the top, and then down below, like, down in the lower area, there would look like it looked like a J, and then I just saw EE. Look like, it was almost like Keener, but I can't tell you that it was because you couldn't make out the entire thing. There was just something. There was a watermark. Somebody was claiming that photo as their photo for sure.
The problem with it is the entire investigation is geared around Westerman's testimony. Nobody else was in the room with him, right? I mean, even if Baldwin is saying, maybe, that he was in there, he doesn't know exactly what happened. Everybody's at the mercy of what this guy's saying. Hey, I went in there and I saw some, photos on the table and took pictures. I mean, who just kind of randomly does that too? And
that's odd. That story is odd. Do you guys? And maybe Teresa knows. When was the last time Westerman worked for Baldwin?
2019.
Okay.
But they're
we're
good friends.
talking-
They still posted pictures together, like going to baseball games and whatnot. So they were friends.
Okay, who Baldwin and Westerman?
Westerman. Yeah.
Okay, so what was his job at the time? Wasn't he did some kind of help?
Well, he went to law school, but never actually passed the bar. So he was kind of just in charge of like the office. It was like what was his title? Oh goodness, I remember it too.
Yeah,
It was like
yeah, I do.
executive manager or something like that.
Like it was not public relations. It was I know I've seen it too, you know. But what would a guy who's your friend like that? What would be his motive to go in there and do that? I mean, because they got leaked. Did the guy who took the photos of the photos, was his intention that I'm taking these so that we can leak them?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's weird.
I don't know.
I think that there's a big question for me around the whole thing, because if he's taking the pictures of the pictures, are you sure that the whatever watermark or whatever thing is on there isn't a reflection from whatever he's taking the picture? If it's laying on the table, it's not like lights or anything like that coming down. You don't think it's like a reflection from the camera?
I actually have it's measured out. They're equal measurements, and then there's the black line. It is like I mean, you know, unfortunately, you can't like show the case for it without showing the photo. So I give it, but I assure you, this is a watermark. Absolutely,
it looks like it. Yeah, I agree. It looks like it. But why would those be? I mean,
somebody claimed that they're different. They're different than the other ones with Abby. So that's what I was wondering is like, even though these photos were sent, it looks like maybe whoever had them, it could have been like a different batch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they might have had these one earlier, and then they got this off the computer. They had already had this other one.
They're just up there. It's completely at the mercy of what Westerman tells them. And apparently that's good enough for Gull.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great question too, because we don't know what actually happened behind closed doors. We don't know what she was presented with.
I mean, people say,
what evidence was she presented with a gross negligence?
Well, people say Baldwin knew about it. If he went in there and did that and he didn't know he was taking, or maybe he didn't even, you know, and that's not the way it happened. How would he be admitting anything? He's not admitting to anything. He didn't see anything happen, you know? Again, it goes back, that guy saying, and again, I don't know what his motive would be to say he took them when he didn't, but I don't know what his motive would be to take them.
I can tell you something. These photos are the real deal. There's nothing. I mean, even if they were.
Well, I think that once they go through, the only thing is once they go through so many hands, like if they are a photo, let's just say, like they're a photo taken of a photo from the table, and then that photo is sent to somebody else, and then that person's now taking photos of their computer screen. So maybe not photoshopped per se, but there's definitely things that, there's things that are going to change the context of the photo. So that's why I was wondering, could there be like a reflection of something else? I mean, I have no idea.
I'm not nearly positive as Julia's, but it does look like it's something uniform. It does. It doesn't look like. I mean, it really does. It's the same height right across, all the way across. It's but it's nothing you can say. Oh yeah, that's a K or that's a E or any of that. I just want to know with this Westman guy, what was in his mind when he pulled out his phone and saw those photographs there and said, "Oh, that'd be a good idea to snap off a few shots here."
I guess he was operation manager or something when he.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's what he was called. Yeah.
Yeah, and like
he said,
Skip, you think this, if they were that good of friends, and it's private, and they feel like they're mutual respect there with even the job and all that, and he's an attorney and that sort of thing. You would think that well, I mean, you think he'd share it, but I guess he couldn't share it because he was under a gag order. I don't know. I don't get it. I guess that's the only way he could, quote unquote, legitimately get them without, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that.
Did you want him just to share with his friends?
That's what I wondered. If it was just to have, and so that he knew that he had his friends, because Robert Fortson and Robert Fortson's
Listen, I'll be right back.
sister-in-law, his sister-in-law specifically, was in Facebook groups regarding Delphi. They were very interested in the case, so I'm wondering if it was like, maybe I will just have this to share with my friend, and then, so they can see it, because I know they've followed this case since it happened or something like that. I can't answer Mitch, obviously, but that's my thought.
And one of them got an idea. Hey, it's a good idea to leak them.
Well, I think that, this is where my whole issue with the Mark Roberts stuff comes in. Because if Mark Robert is telling, and I don't know what he's telling Fortson, so I can't speak to what he actually said, but from just looking at the different correspondence of, Richard Allen's so guilty, to no, I totally think Richard Allen is innocent. If he thinks that that Robert Fortson thinks he's innocent, then is Mark Robert playing that card with him, and then he gets the photos, and now here we are. That's where I don't know. Those are the answers that I want to find.
Because we're not being told the truth, and I don't expect we're going to get it. So unfortunately,
Mike,
I was there in May, Memorial Day weekend of 2022.
May of 2022.
That's when he was asking when I was. Went to
I just wanted to make sure that was the right answer.
Big. Hey,
Good. Big said there was twigs all over the ground. There was no deliberate sticks placed over Abby's head. There was deliberate branches placed on the girls, likely to conceal them. So what I'm hearing is like the smaller branches were actually over Abby's hair.
Yeah.
But I mean, is there any way to?
Big, look,
I don't know if there's
look.
Go ahead.
Well, maybe I look at conceal a little bit maybe different than Fig. I mean, sticks don't conceal a human body. If you're trying to hide, conceal.
There was a ton of leaves. Just go like this real quick. Can you get them all? And I would have just brought a bunch of leaves and just brought them all over. The reason at first I thought, well, maybe those twigs were there. They kind of were crisscrossed, at the top of her head. But if you look closely, as you're looking down, look at the twig that goes over. So she's placed, and this twig goes over the top of her hair, over the top of that ponytail. So they're not hidden behind a log or they're not behind her head. They're wide. They're right in the middle she's laid down, and that twig is going over the top of that little bun that she had. So that's how I was like, okay, wait a minute. It is going over the top of that hair there. I was expecting in my mind.
I'll agree that it's not as purposeful maybe as you think, Julie, but
it's not as profound. I thought it was not as orange or something. Yeah.
Maybe, and again, maybe I'm just interpreting the word conceal different. I think of conceal is to hide, to get out of sight.
Well,
they're not hidden and they're not out of sight.
I just throw a bunch of stuff on them. And I just throw a bunch of you pile it up. You just pile it up and put it in a pile, and then you take the leaves because there's a ton of leaves all over the ground. That's the quickest way. Go boom, boom, boom. You put 4 or 5 structured, and each of them had the limbs across their neck. Each of them, both of them had that part of it. To me, it was purposeful. It was purposeful. Does it make any sense to the normal person? No. I mean, and if I was going to conceal, the quickest way is just look at all the leaves on the ground. Let's bury them. That's the easiest way. Don't put even a limb on it so nobody will look. Just cover them so they melt into the ground. You don't see them at all. Then you're walking, you have no idea. Okay, when you're a little kid and you have to rake the leaves, and you'd hide under the leaves, nobody's going to find you. But that's the quickest, easiest way to do it. It makes absolutely no sense to put these on there and expect that, you're not going to be found. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, well, again, they're in an open. It's like what that area is an old floodplain, and it kind of sits in a bowl. So the height of the creek edge at the bank is higher than where the girls would have been found. Okay, so if you looked from across the creek, you wouldn't have been able to see them because the
bank's up higher.
Yeah, the bank's higher because it goes down from the edge of the bank, right?
Yeah, there's no way you can see them
Because
standing
I went
up
over
the
there, I went
creek
to the
up
other
on
side
the
of the
bank.
creek
No.
to look and see if you could see across, because that was somebody saw a deer and saw them. You can't. So they were concealed a little bit just by the nature of the location.
Now, I want to say I myself was there with Merrill, and I saw a couple deer, but I was actually up there at like the crime scene area, and I did see a couple deer come through there.
Yeah, you definitely could see a deer. You just wouldn't be able to see the girls from. You'd have to be
from on the other side. You're right. There's no way you can, because it's kind of a little bit of a lull, a little bit of a bowl.
That goes to my point. It goes to my point again about how there was so much like even misinformation about stuff like that, or just immediately in the case. It's weird.
If you guys look,
the whole thing's so strange.
There are a lot of photos on Facebook that I had taken, and I'd marked them. I typed them in when Meryl and I were there. This was, I think it was December of 2018, December 22nd, I think it was. And we walked there. We kind of timed it, how long it took us. And then we went the back way. We went down to the crime scene, and that was the first time I saw there were a lot of cameras down there. And one I knew had to be like from the FBI or some law enforcement, because, and here's the thing is,
trail cameras?
Yeah, they were trail cameras. They were of varying sizes, but the one that I knew was a big deal, it had this huge, it was up high, like, so it'd be, you couldn't just, like, it was up high enough there, not you'd have to climb a tree or had to get a ladder or something. It was up high, had this huge battery pack, and it was like bungeed around and had a lock and all that stuff. It was a big one. And then there was another one. And so basically all these cameras converged on one area. And I didn't know where the girls were found, but as a matter of deduction, you can figure it out. It's like, okay, there's this giant camera facing here. There's one over here. There's one over here. There was another one. I think there was at least 4 cameras that I spotted, and I think I circled them. And
said you can put those pictures up of those 2 photos I sent you.
Okay.
You can't. That shows,
I didn't know. I didn't know to ask you, so I didn't want to just put them up.
Yeah, you put them. That was actually when Julie and I were there when she showed me that path, and it's the only path it's the only path off the trail besides the trail crossing of the 505. And it's well, you just have to see it to real. I mean, it's like it's the only again. I don't know how to explain. It's the only path. Everything else is thicket or brush. I mean, so I don't know why that wouldn't have been the obvious place to look first.
Okay, and then the path you're talking about, Skip, is you're heading south. You're at the very beginning of the bridge, right before you cross. And instead of crossing, you go to the left, and it's a very worn path. You go around. There's one area. Okay, I know people have their own opinion on this. I think I was 52 when this happened. Huh. And I'm a pretty athletic person.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal, especially if you hike. It's like, this is not like this treacherous terrain and all that.
You can see the path before she put it up.
It isn't. It's not. But once you do get to an area where you have to go down this big ravine to get to the crime scene if you go the back way.
That's the only thing you have to do.
You hold on to trees on your way down, and it's a done deal. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, go to
And when you get down onto Ron Logan's property there, it's all wide open. So it's like, you'd walk right up to them. I know it's dark but you'd have to have light, but I mean, you'd walk right. You couldn't miss. I mean,
yeah, it's not as treacherous as I know people say. That's just my perspective.
I mean, what it took 7 or 8 minutes for us to walk from the trail to the crime scene, maybe.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, it's not like it's anything really difficult.
I've timed stuff. Some of my videos are boring, but it's for the sole purpose of timing, not really for the scenery, or, you know, I really, if you just start looking at my ticker and how long that video took, that's all the purpose of my, some of my videos are.
I don't have any theory about why. I don't. I just know that Doug Carter in the Down the Hill podcast declined to answer the question. Why went the girl that night?
Oh yeah. Well, why? Yeah, they said.
I mean, there's something happened. Something happened. Something. Whether
missed up in the investigation or whatever.
Misinformation was passed on. Somebody said the area was searched. It wasn't, and that may have led to the whole church thing.
Is this the trail that goes alongside the creek that would take you back to the 505, but also towards the crime scene? Is that this trail?
No, you can go. The other photo I showed you or sent you is where the entry to it. It's about 25 feet from the bridge. There it is, right. You can see the edge of the bridge. You can see the crime scene. You can walk in right there. It's all about. I mean, seriously, it's about 25. This is
the west side of the bridge, though. I mean, or the north side of the bridge.
This would be the east side of the bridge.
This is closer to Cave Weber.
It kind of runs at an angle. I mean, like.
Yeah. It would be the if you consider that the north side of the bridge, that would be the east side.
Okay, so like the like Mears parking lot would be over here.
Yeah,
right?
Back toward. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So you could go down and you end up on this trail right here if you're walking right here.
Yeah,
if you walk down here, you end up on this trail.
On it, that's a few feet on it from right where you enter, and it goes down just like that.
Skip, is this right here? Is this right here at the north, right before you cross the bridge and you go off to the left?
Yeah, if you're coming from the Freedom Bridge, it's on the left before you get to the bridge. Yeah.
And it goes back off to the left. Yeah. And
then
it goes
right down to the crime scene.
Well, if you keep walking just straight out
that way, straight up on the hill. Yeah.
You can run into Mears. You'll run into Mears Field. So look at it that way. If you came from 300 through Mears Field, you would end up, if you walk far enough, you just end up in the woods here on that path. And then you can actually take that along the edge if you go far enough. See, north, south, kind of east. If you go a little bit east far enough, and you'll end up along the edge of the field, and then you keep going, and you'll end up in the cemetery.
Yeah.
It kind of goes, but that path will take you right down you'll go all the way around, and then you kind of stop, and you're like, okay, where am I going now? You walk down the ravine to like where the crimes.
Once you're over the ravine, you're right. You're right there. It gets down to that flat, and look, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not saying there's a reason why it happened. It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so before I ask you the next question, I just want to make sure that everybody in chat, like, I don't have any issues with any of these creators, and I know that there's a lot of people who, like, there's a lot of history in this case that I'm not privy to, and I won't pick sides. So just be nice to each other, be nice to people. That's literally the biggest thing I can tell you guys. Just be kind. Otherwise, then people end up not wanting to stick around because everybody's just being mean to each other. So don't do that. Do you happen to, I've had this question up here for a while, but I don't actually know what it is. So I'm wondering if it's to one of you guys. Who asked you, remember I was at work? Do you know what that pertains to, either Julie or Skip? Because I'm not familiar with what that is. I remember I was at work. Who asked that?
I was at work. Why?
I
remember I asked you why I was at work. Why?
What are they?
I don't know what that
referring to.
It doesn't ring a bell to me.
Remember I was at work.
Okay. And perpetual apologies. I hope you're still here. I know that it was a little while ago that you put that in there. But if you're still here, maybe you can clarify, because I'm not really sure. So there's another one in here that sees through it. Would like, Julie, can you repeat the story about the date that Kay's son found the kitchen cabinets open? Was that on the 13th?
Yes. Oh wait, no. No, it was the 14th, and it was after the girls. It was after the girls were found, and they searched the house, and they went through the house. They went through Kay's house. So Kay was out in Arizona at the time because they would go there during the winter, but Brad had been staying there. And from what she said is that when he was coming back down the driveway to the house, he didn't even get to the house. They grabbed him and they took him in for questioning. They went through the house, and she explained, I think the house was kind of, I don't know if it was left, the way it was left. So they ended up coming home after, very shortly after this whole thing happened. They were questioned out there. And when she came home, she said, and she took me through the house, she says, I want to show you how they left it. And she opened up every cabinet door. She goes, this was open. They had this open. She said they spent a lot of time in here, which was the bathroom. And they were particularly interested in the bathtub. And so they spent a lot of time in the bathroom.
In the bathroom?
Yes, in the bathroom. She took me to the bathroom where they spent a lot of time in that bathroom. Kind of indicating.
And what was the date of that?
Huh?
What was the date? What date was it?
That was on the 14th. And that's when they took, they took his gun. He had a .40 caliber Sig Sauer. They took that gun for ballistics testing. They didn't want to give it back for a long time. As a matter of fact, she said they were not going to give it back. They're like, we need this, and I said, and I, at the time, I didn't know it was a .40 caliber. I later found it out. And I'm like, when I talked to this one police officer in Indianapolis, I was like, oh, do you know about the Libyan Abbey, thing, murders? And this was in, I think it was April of 2017. And I ran into him, and he's like, well, he goes, yeah, he goes, actually, dude, he goes, my partner and I, we were asked to go help at the crime scene. I said, you were? And he said, yeah. I said, did you find anything? He said, just some bullet casings. And I said, do you think they were used? He's like, nah, they were probably out there. They could have been old or whatever. We don't know. I said, so what'd you do? What do you do with them? Oh, we just turned them in. And I said, do you mind telling me what caliber those bullet casings were? And he said, .40 caliber. I'm like, oh, okay. And at the time, I didn't know that law enforcement, I knew that they'd taken Brad's gun, but I didn't know that he had a .40 caliber. And then I said, do you mind telling me what kind of gun you had? He said, it was a Sig Sauer. And I said, what was the caliber? And he said, it was a .40 caliber Sig Sauer. And then when Richard Allen's arrested, they're talking about a .40 caliber Sig Sauer, and I'd already been told that there were bullet casings out there, not unspent, but casings at the crime scene. I'm like, okay, I hope that they've also compared those to the bullet that was found and to all. I mean, there's a lot of things that whoa, these are things that I just have. This is how I'm so deep into this case. Is like every time I want to get out of it, there's weird things like this that happen. I'm like, okay, nobody else would have necessarily known this, and kind of like, this might be something. This might be important.
Did they take the water pipe out of Kay's house?
The water pipe?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
I don't, not that I know of. I don't think they took anything. I mean, I just know that they took a gun. Oh, I see. What are you getting at? The fact that maybe there was, because let's say, hey, they didn't find anything in the bathroom, but maybe they might have found something in the pipes or something. No, I don't know about that.
That garage, it wasn't the garage. Didn't you tell me the garage was? Maybe that was Dennis who told me that. But maybe.
Was searched?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything was. From what I understand, everything was searched there.
Okay, so did they took Brad Weber? I just want to make sure we're clear on which Brad we're talking about, because there's so many that have the same name in here. Brad Weber's Sig Sauer on February 14th.
Yes.
The day the girls were found, they took his gun.
Let me just wait. I don't know if that's the exact date they took it, but I absolutely know they took it for ballistics testing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't tell you because I don't think I asked the date, so I can't tell you that's the date that they took it.
And he said it took a long time to get it back.
Yes, it took a long time. And actually, I think Kay was thinking about she was going to get an attorney and all this other stuff, and then she wasn't going to get it back, and there was enough pressing to get it back, and they got it back.
Okay, so my perpetual apologies said you had mentioned something that you said. They were mentioning something you said. You said called me and said, "Remember, I was at work." I thought she said Tony, but I thought she was talking about someone calling her to say, "Hey, remember, if they call, I was at work." We've said so many things tonight. I'm not even sure.
And I don't know. No, maybe she was talking about when my sister called me. I was at work, and Cody was.
Oh, when they found the girl?
Yeah, it was when. Yeah, I was at work when my sister called me when they found the girls, and actually I was at work as well when she called me the night before saying that the girls were missing. So maybe that's what she's talking about or something. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
There was another question. Hold on, let me find it.
Are you guys getting tired?
It's really late for you guys, and it's only 9:30 for me. So I mean, but you guys are East Coast. I'm West Coast.
People. There's still 744 people watching.
Are you serious?
The people want to know.
I noticed some of the old school people too. They've been around the case forever are in here too.
Scottish Queen said she's sorry, Skip. She couldn't see who was on with the ladies. Okay, let me just see, because I know there was another question in here that I missed. They've had so many good questions for you. I feel really bad because I know that I've probably missed so many questions, and they're just like, can you guys come back? Because we want to ask more questions.
Yeah.
What about Mike Patty? Do any of you think he's suspicious considering his misinformation, or are we only ever to speak about misinformation that isn't connected to the family? That's from Kay West. My problem with that is I don't know how much he was being fed. And I feel like this with the whole family. And when they do these interviews, it's like, how much narrative are they being given to purposely put out to the public? So I don't really have a good answer. If you guys want to answer, you're more than welcome to.
That's more Julie's territory than me. I really don't have an opinion on it.
No comment.
Okay. And that's fair. I mean, you definitely have a different different perspective than any.
It's close to that.
I should pull out my list of questions that I had for you, Julie, but it's been a long night already. So, because I have a whole page of questions. The whole reason I even ended up getting in contact with Julie was because there was things that were coming up, and I knew from listening to Julie's lives and the lives that she had been on other channels, I was like, Julie's going to have answers to some of these questions because you would touch on them, but you wouldn't elaborate. And I was listening to them obviously months, even years later. And I was like, I need to talk to Julie. I ended up reaching out to her to begin with.
Half of it. And you haven't heard half of it. She's got
stories.
The psychics and the belt and the orange and the
psychic stuff. You know what? Here's how I feel about that. I understand that police have used psychics. I had a lot of people contacting me saying they were psychics. There are people that are in this case now that contacted me to tell me they were a psychic, and they really weren't. People know the name very well, and I'm not going to say it. But one lady that was trying to help the case, she was on the Travel Channel, Lori Jansen, and she was in Ghost of Shepherdstown. She was very interesting. And one of those ladies, so when we were in our little small, messenger group, she was friends with her, and so she says, hey, I arranged this reading. She wants to do a reading on the case. So I ended up, so she gave us the reading. None of us knew anything. We were getting mixed up ourselves. We had no clue. Even some of us were mixing up. It was crazy. But the stuff that she got, so what I did was, okay, I'll transcribe this whole thing, and it's all psychic stuff. I'll take it to Delphi. It's who knows if it's anything. So I find out that law enforcement, there was a couple people on law enforcement that were investigated from it. And I found that out from Kay because when she called someone, because there was somebody trespassing on her property, they just got tired of it. So she called out some people, and he's like, yeah, that Julie and her sister running around with the psychic, which we weren't running around with the psychic. Yeah, apparently whatever she turned in, I got investigated on. And so I didn't know if they were, I mean, I specifically said, this is purely psychic information. If there's anything that leads to factual information, be my guest to use it. I have no idea. It's all psychic. I don't know. And that's how it was. And it was just the conversation. But there were some people that were investigated off of it. And I mean, I had several people reaching out, like psychics, whatever, reaching out to me. And I was like, yeah, I'll listen to them. And I'd follow some of their, you know, I figure if you give me information, whatever you pick up, and it leads to a factual information, and it might lead to some uncovering, then it's not a wasted time. So, but I know that, you know, it's always, you know, take it with a grain of salt, but take a look at it, because at this point in time, nobody's solved the case, you know, and we want to get to the bottom of it. So
didn't the psychic say that BG's name was Matthew, and Kay Weber said, "Oh, I hope it's not my son. I hope it's not my Matthew." I'm sorry. Sorry. Edit.
I have a Papa says, Julie or Skip, what is your dear standing of the date the unspent round was found? What is your understanding of the date the unspent bullet was found? I believe it was several weeks after the murders. I can't seem to find a clear answer on when the unspent round was actually found, or who found it. Nobody seems to know.
I've heard a couple of weeks.
have you?
Mhm.
I thought it was found on the 14th.
And
What I was told was the unspent round was found, and that the FBI wasn't concerned, didn't think that was even any part of the crime, and actually thought it was from one of their members. And it was found. It was kind of like set aside. But what about the casings out there too? The casings have to. You can't just say, "Well, we're going to pick and choose." There's a bullet. There's an unspent bullet. You got to. What about the casings? So
Well,
not only you have to compare. Is the unspent bullet? Does that also match those casings that were out there? Are those from? You know, were those from the same gun? And if it's from the same gun, is it like you know what I'm saying?
But here's the thing, though. If they found an unspent cartridge, that's the gun they would be looking for. So the timing of that would be kind of how you could figure it out. I mean, the spent casings are one thing. That's but those could be a lot of things depending on where they were found. The focus would be definitely the unspent cartridge at the crime scene. But again, I don't know. When they were asking for people's weapons or anything. I don't know the timing of it. So to figure out, when it was found.
Well, the problem is they didn't compare, from what I understand. I don't know. I don't think that they compared any. So let's just say, hey, this is Indiana. People carry. There's a lot of people that carry. They don't go out their house without carrying. That was a popular gun. That was a popular, Cat 40 caliber was popular by law enforcement. You would think reasonably, hey, we found an unspent bullet here. Hey, we need to see all your guns. Make sure that this hadn't been injected from your gun at one point in time, and you had it in your pocket, or it had been in your whatever. You have to at least compare the people that already have their guns out there to rule out that, hey, we can unequivocally say that this bullet, we've checked all the people that searched that had their guns, that had a 40 caliber, and we did the ballistics testing. They didn't, that to me is a real strong case that if they didn't belong to any of those people, but you're saying that it's such a good match to Richard Allen's, that's important. But if you didn't do it at all, then that's not good.
So you think it was found, you think the unspent round was found on the 14th? Do you know what agency or who found it, or is that even affirmed? Do we even actually know it was the 14th, or just?
I thought that was mentioned at some point somewhere along the line, but it was like,
I mean, the crime scene.
The FBI, when the FBI was still involved, they thought it was maybe one of their own.
I mean, the crime scene techs almost would have had to have found that, right? I mean, they would have been every inch of that place, especially around the girls. I mean, I get they could have missed it, but
Well, I mean, for me to be told by an IMPD detective that he and his buddy were out there searching at the crime scene and they found bullet casings, 40 caliber bullet casings, and they turned those in. I mean,
really?
it is what it is. Yeah, that's yes.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
I find it weird that they're out there later and they're still finding casings, but yet
it's real weird. Yeah.
And then I've had an issue with the bullet because Ron Logan's search warrant, which was in March, does not talk about any type of bullet or ammunition. And if they were specifically looking for that, they had already gone to Ron Logan's based on his probation violation. They were able to go in and get his firearms and so on. And they went back. So
Yeah,
the unspent round.
Yeah, they did his kind of a search warrant just specifically for firearms, right? Wasn't that the first one? And then they went back and did the home or something like that. It seemed like two. I remember there were two searches. One.
Okay, so they're saying somebody in chat saying it's logged on the 15th. Can anybody show me where it's logged on the 15th? There's two people who actually said that. Codename Bianca says bullet found and logged on the 14th according to RR. I'm not sure who RR is though. And then Mandy says it's logged the 15th. I don't know where. Can show me what report that's logged on. I'd love to see that. Maybe I missed it.
Yeah, me too.
And then Carol has a question for you, Julie.
Okay.
Did Kay Weber's Stations of the Cross get damaged and or end up in the creek? I don't even know what that means. I'm assuming you do.
Yeah. Okay. So Kay Weber had all the Stations of the Cross up on her property. So like after you cross the bridge, if you come onto the property, there's that little barrier there, and you walk up over towards the right side, and there's like that tree line, that's kind of where Abby would come through with Libby. She had on that side all these Stations of the Cross, like each of them, and it was beautiful. She showed them to me. It was really nice, and that was real special to her. And so 2 years after the murders, she had said, McCain's being in charge of this whole historical society and all that stuff. She felt like they had ordered this like a reassessment of property lines. And she knew that was her property. In her family, she owns 300 acres there. And she's like, she said it was a battle that I had to choose to fight. They came out, they said, we're going to reassess. Well, yep, lo and behold, there's 5 feet. So what they did was there was a reason for this, because she said that there's been a long-term battle with the property. People wanting the property, people wanting Ron Logan's land, people wanting her land. It's been going on and on, especially with the historical society. So she was already, had a question mark going off, when I visited her about this whole thing. And, it was very, like, I think the land was very special to, like it has been to the McCains. And she said they've treated it like their own. It was angering them. Some people that were coming, kids that would come and just like, do drugs, drink, whatever. Like it was almost like they felt it was a very personal connection. So she said, like almost to the day, 2 years, here they are coming out. They reassessed the property and they said, yep, 5 feet, they took 5 feet. And the whole 5 feet is to create a path to go along this backside. So they've got plans for the future. It's coming. And so they staked it out, and she said that she had to move some of her Stations of the Cross. So yeah, I don't damaged or not. I don't know if it was damaged. I mean, she said she had to take that out, and it broke her heart. And she knew that property was hers, but she really she was exhausted by this time. She kind of threw her hands up and was like,
you know way too much about Delphi. And now I know way too much about it. You're like the town historian.
No, I'm really not. I mean, people tell you I don't know anything. I don't claim to know anything. It's just stuff that I've.
She also asked, Kyle Smith, and then she's asking about the Edgins shack. It's more of a cabin, I would call, not really a shack.
It's a cabin. Yeah, it's a neat little cabin. It's It's a cabin. It's you know, you can see it. I found a really good spot to see it. I think I did a video. I was actually just doing the Rick Allen drive from his house the back way. Like if
Yeah.
I was going to try to avoid cameras. So I was kind of getting in his mode, in his mind, like, okay, I'm going to go to the bridge and this is the way I'm going to go so nobody can see me. However, you know, you always wonder, people out in the country, it doesn't matter. They may have a Ring doorbell or something out there that they can spot, you know, that keeps track. But I went that back way, and right after I passed, the Mears is all along there, right before you turn the little curve and you get onto 300.
Yeah.
Off to the left down the ravine, you could see the cabin. And I've got a couple pictures of it, and somebody had sent me, they'd sent me the drone footage. But it's a neat cabin. I've seen even a close-up picture of it. It's a neat little cabin. It's a deer hunting cabin. But you know, I've heard things like that absolutely has nothing to do with it and all that. So whatever. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, that whole shack and cabins and things are, you know, and what did they search and what. I don't think I've ever heard the correct version.
Well,
I
it
mean-
just kind of kept it coming into play. It was just kind of weird where, of course, I had heard that, and then I kind of let it go. And then when I talked to Kay, she's like, the one thing, they didn't care about the lights at Ron Logan's. All they wanted to know is, what about that? What about that cabin? I want to know about this cabin over here. And you can't see it hardly. It's
Right.
really hard to see through the woods from her place. You can see it. I could see it, but it's hard.
Yeah.
And obviously when the leaves are off the trees, you can see it. So I kind of let it go. And then you at this press conference, when they're switching, you know, the sketch, they're talking about the shack. And it's like, are you trying to tell us something? I mean, can you give us another way to talk about forgiveness other than the shack, or indicating that they were somewhere? I mean, it just is kind of like, it may mean nothing. It may mean nothing. It may just, you know, may be coincidental. It may, I don't know. I don't know what to make
This
of it.
case has a little bit of something for everybody. It does.
Did you?
I mean,
I walked out. I went to go let the dog out real quick. Did you happen to answer the other questions in Carol's? Do you know Kyle Smith, or
I
was it
don't.
Marty's?
he was the kid that got the text about where the girls were on the right. Wasn't he? Isn't that Kyle Smith?
He was kind of like the first one to talk about it on like Snapchat. That he was like, hey, she sent me the Snapchat photo. He was kind of like one of the first ones to put that out there. I don't know him. I mean, I just know of him.
Yeah, that was the first time anybody knew that the girls actually were on the bridge.
Yeah. And was it Marty Edge? Yeah, it was Marty Edging's.
Yeah,
Marty Edging's cabin. Yeah. They're a good fit. They're a really nice family from Delphi. I mean, it's
that's not
possible.
their property's nice. That whole property is nice.
Here's the only thing I think about. You know, these girls, like, I'm just gonna just take it at face value that these girls were killed right where they were found, and that they weren't moved or anything like that. That shows even more incompetence of the reason, like, they should have been found then. They should have been found. So if they were there overnight, but one thing, I was thinking about with the cabin or whatever. Why is it? You know, they bring up the whole shack thing, and there was other things said about the cabin, and then the one main thing that I guess bugged me was they said there's something about this crime scene that only the killer would be able to talk about, that would know. Well, we know there was how many searchers out there? Well, everybody knows what was there. They saw the sticks, they saw everything else. But the one thing that would be very specific would be something like that. That they maybe were somewhere else. So I don't know, because I'm thinking, I'm here. I mean, like, even with me looking at, like, okay, what else? I mean, maybe there's something hidden within, we don't know. You can't tell anything by, like, the pictures or whatever. Or you don't even necessarily, if you're there, know what happened to them, because there may be some things that happened that nobody still knows about and will never be talked about until the trial.
Yeah, I think the clothes and the way they put back on, and they were I think that is probably one thing that they don't understand, and that was probably a key to. That may have been what they were talking about next. That's such an unusual thing, you know.
Was there a group of 3 girls and a group of 4?
This is a question I have.
There was the only thing I know is there was 4 girls, but they're leaving the third. They're leaving one of the girls out because she was very young. I think she was like 8 years old or something at the time, and that was Riley's sister.
But is there, from knowing all the people that were out there that day, is there another group that was only 3 girls? Because this was my big question, because one of the big things that points to Richard Allen's guilt is that he says he saw these 3 girls and these 3 girls saw him. But is there another group of 3 girls that would have been there earlier in the day that we're aware of?
There were 2 groups of girls, right? There was the group that 4 were talking about Riley and her sister, but there was also they were there, I think, earlier, weren't they? They were the ones that left to go to Riley Park.
Okay, wait. Yeah. But okay, wait. Let me just kind of put this. Do you guys understand it as Anna Spath being with Riley?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to tell you, it was Riley and her sister, minor. She's still a minor, and they actually indicated, she's wanted to keep this sealed. So it was Riley and her sister. And there's pictures of her and her sister, and then there's Bree, and there's Anna. That's 4. So those are the 4.
Yeah.
They were together. The 3 were ahead. Riley was kind of hanging back. She was on her phone. The 3 girls say they don't remember much about him. She says hi, because you're taught to respect, strangers as growing up in a small town, and she remembers him looking it up, But however, I will say this: when Becky was, talking to me, and we were just like normal, I don't know, until all the people kind of interfere with this whole thing. She had told me that one of the girls, not that group of girls, but there was somebody that was supposed to meet them out there, and she and Libby had texted her and said, "Hey, where are you? We're here." And the girl responded, "Hey, we were there already, and we waited for you, but we didn't see you, so we left."
That was the Mata Collier group, right?
Who?
Mata and Collier and somebody else.
Okay, maybe that was I didn't even know their names.
One was Emily Collier, one was Madison Mata, and the other one was I can't remember the other one's name.
So that's the group of 3. Okay,
Yep.
That changes everything, because then that might coincide with Richard Allen's thing and not the 4 girls, which changes the entire timeline.
Because
they left before Libby and Abby got there at 1:48, so they were already gone. So if those are the 3 girls that Richard Allen saw, then that changes the timeline for him.
Yeah, I think there's a thread where they're talking with somebody, and one of them I'm pretty sure says, when were they there? I was there earlier or something. I think the Collier girl.
Is that that should be in the PC? That should be in the PCA, or is it?
No, that wouldn't be in the PCA, because that wouldn't be used. That wouldn't help them get a probable cause against Richard Allen.
Yeah, but
I'm not going to put that in there.
Would it be,
would
be in the memorandum? Would it be in the memorandum or whatever it was that they were?
You
putting
think
out?
so?
Possibly.
It's not in there, though, because that was my big question. What if there's a group of 3 girls that were leaving at about 12:30 that Richard Allen saw?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure there was. I don't know the exact time. I just remember that was the group that walked to Riley.
well, I know according to what Becky said is that they were there. Libby had said, "Hey, where are you? We're here," and the response that the girl said is, we were here waiting for you, and we didn't see you, so we left. So think about it. How long, as a young girl, teenager, if you're okay, remember, Libby was trying to get a ride. They were trying to get a ride to the bridge, so they were probably delayed a little bit. And if you figure, how long do you think they're going to wait around? 20 minutes, 30, 25 minutes, and they're like, "Come on," they'll probably walk down to the end of the bridge, see if the girls are there, okay, they're not there, so they leave. So they might, it sounds like they were already planning on meeting earlier, but they were running behind. And so they ended up leaving. And so there's that, like, you can almost kind of narrow down the timeline of.
And is there 3 of them?
I didn't know how many there were. I just knew that there was.
Herrera, Collier, and Mata.
What was the first one?
Herrera.
Okay. So there is a group. I just got to figure out their timing then. If you know what their times they were there?
Let's see.
Before?
This is the girl. This is the text group they're in. The Collier says, "I can't believe this happened." Mata says, "Neither can I. We were there by there today." Let's see. We're there today. They were there when we were playing basketball at Cutie, CUTY. I guess that's some kind of city, whatever. And they're doing it with Tara, and it says, Massimo says, Liberty and Abby, they were on the high bridge. Let's see. And then Bree Wilbur says, I went to the high bridge about an hour before she got there, and I left before she was there. So it was three. It was those girls.
So, well, we know that they were there. She says they were there before Libby and Abby got there. When what was the time? It was like 1:45, 1:48 or whatever it was.
That's the group with Bree. I want to know what time the group with these other 3 girls was there.
Well, no, well, I know. No, what I'm trying to say is what time did Libby and Abby get there?
1:49.
Okay. The girls said in that message, we were there before that we were there, but we left. Didn't they say we left before we got there?
Yeah, there was. We were there. We were by there today. They were there when we were playing basketball at CUTY. What is that? What is CUTY? Is that like?
I don't know, Carol.
Skip, would you mind sending me those screenshots?
Yeah, I'll send you that text where they're talking. Okay.
I appreciate it. Carol wants to know, do you know Cheyenne? And I think that'll probably be the last question because we're going on almost 4 hours, and I know it's 10 o'clock.
4 hours?
I know you guys are.
God.
I know. We could do this all night, you guys. I'm telling you.
Let's come back.
And I'll go back to that real quick. The girls were at the city park. Now, I don't know if those are the same girls that were at the trail. I do know for sure from what Becky said, there were some girls that were there. They messaged, said, "Hey, where are you?" And
let me see what CUTY.
Libby had messaged them, and the girl says, "Do I know Cheyenne?" I do not know Cheyenne. No, I just know about her. I've heard. I've seen the screenshots over the years. Followed that whole thing for a long time. But no, I don't personally know her.
Let's see here. Okay. CUTY.
Like the city park. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I just don't know. It's
probably city. Yeah, that's probably just a typo.
Well, and some of them are like, there were some girls that were at the park at the city park, like playing basketball, whatever. And I mean, but there was whatever it is, whatever their names are, whatever. There were some girls that were there before Libby and Abby were there, and Libby was expecting to see them out there, and Libby messaged one of the girls, and
got you.
Yeah,
I think it was those girls because they were on the swim team with them.
Okay, maybe it was, and maybe then they went to play ball or play ball first and vice versa, whatever. They could have been 2 places that because they were out doing things. And
gotcha.
Madison, Emily
decided to leave because of that. Are you guys? Are you people tired of listening to this?
There's still 700 of them here listening, so no, I don't think that they are.
They're probably like that damn country bumpkin sounding son of a bitch. He's about to wear me out.
No, because I think we have so many questions, and then it's good to bounce it off of off of you guys, especially when you guys can answer some of those questions. And like I said, Julie, like I have a list of questions for you. So yeah, look at them. They're all nope. They're not tired of it. Nope.
Oh my God.
And Kyle Davis says, Julie, if you want to reach out to him, you can. Is there a best way,
Okay.
Kyle, that she could reach out to you?
Okay.
I don't know how you guys could get in touch with each other. So
Maybe I'll look for him on Facebook.
maybe. Do you want to drop your email in here? I could put your email in here.
Yeah, you can put it in there.
Or no?
It's fine.
Okay, you want to tell me what it is, and I'll type it in.
It's snooze. SN. And by the way, it's not. I'm not the. Somebody tried to associate my email with the person that leaked the photos. By the way, because it was like an S.
Oh, because it starts with an S.
Yeah, but
how many O's though? It has a different amount of O's.
Yeah, SN 3 O's 4 Z's E at AOL.com. I'm sorry, I'm still on AOL.
I still use my AOL account, just not for the channel, but that's it. Yeah.
1996.
Let me see. So there's no numbers, right? It's just snooze at AOL.
Yeah.
Okay. Robin said she showed her email at the top of the. I'm not sure which one, Robin. Hi, Kaz Chick. Okay, so I put it in there. I mean, I can't even tell you guys what a wild ride this night has been.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that.
No.
Somebody's
No apologies.
like,
You're not.
I'm crazy. I still have the AOL.
I still use my AOL. It's the same one that I paid for back in the day when you used to have to buy the disc and put it in and then sign up. Yeah, that's my regular email account, just not for the channel.
I gotta address this. It says they are saying Julie lied about Snae's email. What do they say? I lied about Snae's. He sent me an email. He sent me the picture. There is no mystery to this at all. It is cut and dry.
Somebody's saying you lied about the email?
Yeah, no.
Tell them to put their money where their mouth is. Show them the email. I'll bet you $1,000.
I'll bet him $1 million, man. I want to retire.
Yeah, no, there's an email. It's from him, and to me, it's just like he sent him into an email. I'm not mad at him.
No, I'm not either. I think the thing got blown out of proportion because it was stupid.
I think that he didn't want a lot of backlash. Shit, like we all see how much backlash happens. It is what it is at this point. I don't know. He sent him to her in an email for sure.
I just think he was embarrassed because he did, he got caught in a lie on with Anthony. That should never have happened. And and then from there it snowballed. And then, oh my gosh, I think, and then one lie covered with another lie covered with another lie and all this ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like everybody was saying he was the one who did the mask. It was one person.
I have no problem. I had no problems with him. We didn't even get into it. As a matter of fact, I just, I said, hey, I think I
don't think Snae's looking for a fight, and I don't think Julie's looking for a fight. So I think it just needs to kind of be just left like that. Yeah.
Let's just drop it, man. Clear this.
Yeah.
Like, this is so dumb. I'm not wasting any. I am like, for here on out, I do not care if he does 20,000 more videos about me in this. I mean, I don't care. I've already told it. It's a done deal. There's nothing mystery to it. I got the email. Okay. I mean, like, I'm not going to before the court, but if I do, I'll win. Because I can say, judge, did you get the email?
I don't think it's even going to go that far. It just needs to be dropped at this point, in my opinion.
I'm just being facetious.
Yeah,
nobody
I know, but I'm
last word, or nobody needs to get into that. I won, or it's all that bullshit.
I'm not wasting any more time. I'm not. It's like a kid sitting there begging you, please, 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 mom. No, the answer is no. It's done. Go to bed. That's it.
I mean, if you got to get the last word, if you're that insecure that you got to get the last word on whether you send an email or not,
I don't give it.
That might matters.
I really don't care at this point in time what anybody believes on that end. I'm telling the truth. I really don't care. They can tell me I've been called all kinds of stuff. I don't really care anymore. I'm just like, forget it. I can't be worried about this stuff. Like, I mean, it is what it is. I got the facts. I don't care. Like, whatever. If somebody has to lie to make themselves feel better, then that's one more, moment they're going to have to stand before God and, do the whole list of whatever. So.
Right.
Not,
I wouldn't.
not on me.
I wouldn't stress it. It's just not. It's not worth the fight.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. It's not. I got
Probably
to
worth
get on with
talking
my
about.
life, and my poor husband, and like, yeah, we just, listen, this case has taken up and I've allowed it. Okay, I've allowed it because once you get deep into it, you care, you want to
Mhm.
solve this, you want to just bring peace to the families, bring justice in these girls' names, and make this, whoever did this, pay. And every time you try to get out of it, it's like, oh no, you don't. You want to see it through because you just want closure
You've
for everyone.
invested a lot into it, and nobody thinks it's going to go this long. And
No.
and here we are. And now you're just like, okay, now how do you walk away after putting so much time and energy into it when at the beginning you don't think it's going to take that long?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, I'll just ask some questions or talk to some people, and now here you are, almost 7 years later.
I've never been into true crime, and I mean, I just got, I got in this case for obvious reasons. I never, I mean, I never thought in a million years that this thing would go on this. I never even had a thought to it. I was just thinking we're gonna get to the bottom of this, and I'm gonna do everything possible, and I will do every crazy thing possible. I will follow every lead. I will go to the ends of the earth to find this out. Like, not physically do myself. I was just gonna do it. I was not gonna stop. I didn't care, and I don't need any credit for anything. Like, I just wanted to help other people try to help solve this, and I'm ready. I just want it to be over for various reasons, many, many reasons. And I hope to God that that there's closure for everyone. I can't even imagine, like, even like the families not having closure. I'm sure it's just like this. It's relentless torment, kind of a turmoil going on. And I hope that it comes to a closure soon. And we can all do, and I hate to sound cliche, but there's power in prayer, and by God, there's so much evil covering this case that before you go to bed at night, ask God for forgiveness of your sins, and please say a prayer over this case that God will cover and remove all evil, and that the light will be revealed to bring closure and peace in this. So.
I agree. Support what Stefa said. My daughter sat next to you at the 1019 hearing. Just wanted to let you know that.
She was really, she was so sweet. Yeah, really nice gal. Yeah, we were surprised that what was happening. I mean, you could see right away that this is that there's something big going on. And I was watching. I don't ever want to I don't want to put Doug Carter on this spot, because he's our neighbor, and I don't want to make it like he's got to say hi or whatever. I just kind of, sometimes I won't even have eye contact, so I don't want to make him uncomfortable, especially when all eyes are on him. So I saw him, and in here, the mode he was in, Jerry Holman's sitting out there, and he's just looking around, just looking for eye contact when he's sitting there. But Doug Carter was kind of sitting back, and he was doing this. He was in deep thought, and I could tell something big was going to happen, something that was bothersome to the case, and that was getting ready, what they believe was getting ready to occur. I didn't know, but I could just tell, like, that he wasn't his normal self. It was something that was a weight on him, on his heart.
Well, I can't imagine this is something that they wanted to be dealing with 7 years later either. So.
No, they want it to be over like a long time ago. I mean, look at us. We're just, we're just normal people. Can you imagine being law enforcement and having to day in, day out?
I've been following for 3 years, and it seems like 30. I swear.
Sure, I'm right there with you. It does. It does. So
aged that much too. It's crazy.
Well, I
All right,
wish
you two. I'm gonna wrap this up and let you guys go. And I like
Thanks.
I said, I mean, it's been a wild ride tonight, but I really appreciate you guys coming on. I appreciate showing the receipts, and everybody can take it for what they want at this point. It is, I mean, it's right there. It's black and white. It's,
just do
it
me
is
a
what it
favor,
is.
everybody. Just bring closure to this. Don't participate in all this drama of nonsense. It takes time away from your family. It takes time away from think about every single moment. I get it if there's something going on that you can make a difference in this case, but when you invest your time day in, day out in this drama of nonsense and gossip and all this garbage, it takes away from the whole point of why we were here in the first place, and it takes away from your own life. It's not doing any good. You could be loving on your child, not on your thing, and your husband or your wife in the background, and nonstop. They're talking like I know my husband is tired of hearing about it. So I'm going to take my own advice, and I'm going to start dedicating more time to my family, because at this point in time, there's not a whole lot any of us can do. I mean, except pray and just be aware of what's going on and support where support's needed. But all this other stuff, it's exhausting. I couldn't live a life like on a daily basis like that goes on these YouTube videos. I couldn't do it. Like, I mean, and I'm not talking about you, Teresa.
Oh no, I get it. I absolutely
I'm talking about the nonsensical stuff, the crazy. I don't even know how people function.
I mean, if people would just have some respect for one another. I mean, that doesn't seem like that should be that hard, But that seems like to be the lacking thing. It's not a matter of being nice. Just have respect. Treat somebody the way you think they should be, or you'd want to be treated, and how people should be treated. It's not hard.
Well, thank you.
I agree.
Thanks, Teresa.
Thank you so much,
Skip,
you guys.
Julie, thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So have a good night. Thanks everybody that was on here, and for your support and prayers for just pray over this case, and God bless everybody and their family.
Yeah, everybody have a good week.
Everyone, thank you, Skip. Thank you, Julie. I'm gonna stick around for a minute, just say goodbye to everybody real quick.
Okay, all right. Okay, bye.
All right, you guys, it's been a long night, and there's still almost 700 of you guys here. I appreciate you guys. I know that there's so much history here in when it comes to this case. I get it. I just try to get the story of what we're talking about here out. It just makes it hard when people are fighting. So I appreciate you guys being majority kind the whole time. I want to thank my mods, my wrenches. I know they've had to come and go all night long, but it's an interesting feat when you have 750 people in a chat, and a lot of them don't agree with each other because of the history. So thank you guys for being here tonight. Thank you guys for being kind to the guests. Thank you guys for being kind to me and to each other. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for being here. I know I tell you guys all the time, you have 1,000 other places that you could be, and yet for some unknown reason you choose to spend your time hanging out with me, and I can't even tell you how humbling that is, and how much each and every one of you matters to me and being here. So thank you guys. And per prof, I just got your email, FYI, and I'm gonna respond, but I don't have other emails from you, so I'm gonna check my spam. So I just wanted to let you know that I will be getting back to you. And for everybody else who emailed me while we were live, I appreciate you guys too. Make sure you guys hit the like button if you haven't already. It helps with the whole YouTube mumbo jumbo. But go enjoy the rest of your night. Have a great week. We'll be back probably tomorrow, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. Love you all.